cab driver Steve Stover is suing 24-year-old waitress Angela Morton and her friend, 23-year-old sales agent Jessica Shibley, for false prosecution. They claim Steve was arrested because he fractured Jessica's cheekbone when he hit her with a credit card machine.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 89 on the calendar in the matter of Stover versus Morton Shibley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
You're Mr. Stover.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's April?
My cousin right there.
Could you step up, April, because you're very much involved with this sad tale that I really tried very hard to organize with limited success. But from what I gather, you and your cousin were out for an evening.
Me, my cousin, and my friend Tammy there.
And you were at some sort of a club?
Yes, ma'am.
And these two ladies were also trying to get into the club?
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, something happened between April and these two young ladies. They thought she said something untoward to them, or that she smiled and said they couldn't get in and we did. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So after the club was over, you went back to April's house?
Yes.
And when you got to April's house, you found these two ladies there, waiting for her.
Yes, ma'am. I got there first, and they were setting up the street waiting.
Did you have a conversation with them?
When I pulled in the driveway, they pulled down, and yes, I had a conversation with them.
What did you say to them, and what did they say to you?
It was just a casual conversation. They asked me where April was and when she'd be home, and told them that she was on her way. She'd went to go get pizza.
And after April came home, that's when all this fracas started. And your lawsuit, Mr. Stover, says that one of these two young ladies, that's Angela. Which one is Angela?
I am.
That Angela broke the window on your car with her shoe.
Yes.
She acknowledges that she did that. She says she was defending herself. She was aiming for you and you ducked. That's your defense.
Well, yes.
That's what I read here. You also claim that Jessica, that's you,
Yes, ma'am.
had you arrested for assault, as a result of which you had lost earnings, you drive a cab, couldn't drive for 4 months.
Yes, ma'am. It was malicious wounding, which was a felony. You know.
And those charges were ultimately dismissed.
The first charges were, then they appealed it to a higher charge, aggravated malicious wounding, which it was a worse 20 years to life.
And was that also dismissed?
Yes, ma'am.
After a trial?
Yes, ma'am.
So there was a full trial?
There was a full trial.
Where you testified and she testified?
Yes.
So you are suing Jessica for having you falsely arrested and loss of income. She is counterclaiming because she says that you assaulted her with some sort of a machine that takes credit cards, imprints.
Yes, ma'am. I have that with me.
You acknowledge that you did, in fact, hit her with that.
Yes, ma'am. It's self-defense.
Okay, so that's what the case is about. So let's get back to the girls are there waiting for April. April has her pizza and comes back to the house. Okay? What is the very next thing that happened? You want to tell me, April?
Jessica called me over to her car. So I walked over to her car. And
You had known her from before that evening?
Yeah. As far as I knew, we were friends. We had talked. Every time we'd seen each other out, we had talked to each other.
Okay. So she called you over to her car.
Yes. I walked over to her car, asked her what was going on. As soon as I did that, she reached out, grabbed me by the back of my hair, twisted me, and had me upside down in her car. The top of my head was in her lap.
Okay. Then what happened?
I asked her what was going on. She said I was talking or dancing with her boyfriend, which was not true. We were there maybe 10 minutes at that club.
She still got you in the car?
She has me in this underneath with my head.
So you're talking?
Yeah, I was trying to talk nice and calm to her, and I thought we were friends at that time,
Okay, well, clearly at that time she didn't want to be your friend.
Evidently not.
So what happened?
I just kept asking her why she was doing it, and I yelled for Steve. I was like, Steve, come over here and tell her what we did. So Steve eventually comes over.
And what happened, Steve, when you walked over?
Well, when she first hollered for me, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't realize the seriousness of it. And then I eventually went over there and seen what was going on. And we both were trying to reason with Jessica. We told her whatever we did, if we laughed at you, we were sorry. And that's when Angie got out of the other side.
Who was driving?
Angie.
Go ahead.
And she got out, and when she come out, she had a lock blade knife, and she brandished it to Brad and myself. And it pretty much scared us right bad. Then she got back in the driver's side, and as far as I could see, she folded the knife up and put it in the middle console. So that's when I was worried for her, because the way her head was in the car, you know, I was...
Her head was still in the car?
Yes, her head was still in... I was thinking the worst, you know, she could have got cut or anything. So I did what I had to do. I beat down on Jessica's arms and got April's hair loose. And she fell back onto the ground. Then they got mad because I'd got her loose. They chased me to my truck. Jessica was first chasing me. And I was running to my truck trying to get to the phone so I could call the police. I didn't know who had the knife at the time. So I used to work for a frozen food company selling frozen food, so I had a credit card machine. And I grabbed the first thing I could out of my truck, and I've got the credit card machine here if you'd like to see it.
I would.
Okay. This is the credit.
Gotcha.
That's the credit card machine. I grabbed it out of the truck. I swung it around just wildly, not knowing, just trying to protect myself because I thought she had the knife with her. I didn't know who had the knife. That's when she got flattened on the ground, and then
Who got flattened?
Jessica knocked her down.
Jessica got flattened.
I got into the truck, and Angie was still on her way to the truck. I locked the door. I was on the phone with the state police, and that's when she took this shoe and smashed the side window out of my truck. It shattered it. And it's like they ran off. They said they were going to get reinforcements. I was on the phone with the state police. They were connecting me with the Roanoke City police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says he was acting in self-defense when he hit Jessica Shibley in the face with a credit card machine. He claims that Jessica had him falsely prosecuted. Jessica is countersuing for her injuries.
Now, as a result of this, Jessica, you suffered some very serious injury.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you suffered this serious injury, you were right near his truck.
Actually, I just stepped out of the car.
You were right near his truck.
Well, about a car length away, yes, ma'am.
Well, let's go back a little bit. What were you two ladies doing going to her house?
We did go to her house
For what?
to question her about what had happened at the bar. We were not even in the bar.
What do you mean question her?
Well,
What does that mean, question her?
They had made some comments that upset me, so I went to
What
ask
kind
them
of
about
comments?
it. Something about us not being able to get in. They thought that was really funny.
So they laughed at you
Yes, ma'am.
that you couldn't get into the club and they did.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you went to question them about.
Yes, ma'am.
Where had you been before that evening?
We had just been out and about.
What do you mean out and about? What does that mean out and
We had
about?
been downtown. In
Downtown
our
where?
local places where we live, downtown Roanoke. Some different nightclubs and things down there.
All right, so you'd been to some clubs that
Yes,
evening.
ma'am.
How many clubs had you been to that evening?
We just rode, we didn't even go in one downtown. We had stopped at a little place on Windsor Road before we proceeded to go to the one they were at.
Okay. So then you go to April's house to discuss with her,
Yes, ma'am.
her laughing at you.
Yes, ma'am.
And who grabbed her in a headlock?
She wasn't in a headlock.
Who grabbed her in a headlock
I
and grabbed her
by
hair?
the back of the hair after she stuck her head in the car.
She stuck her head in the car
Yes,
to talk to you.
When she come to the car, she stuck her head in the car.
And what did she say?
She kind of basically asked me what I wanted, and that's when
Okay,
I did grab
so
her
she-
by the back of the head.
You grabbed her by the back of the hair. If you're sitting in the car and grabbed her by the back of the hair, then her head's in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
You have no right to do that.
You're right.
That started all the trouble.
Yeah.
Ended up you got your face bashed in.
Yes, ma'am.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
You think you deserve to get paid for that?
I don't deserve to have to pay him. When
Why not?
I never laid a hand on him.
You started it. Two of you started it. You want to show me the picture so that I can see just how dumb you are? That's pretty dumb. You had your cheekbone fractured?
Broken.
Broken.
My eyesight.
Fractured means broken.
Oh, yeah.
Broken. Huh. You had surgery?
Yes, ma'am.
That's pretty bad. What kind of knife was there?
There was no.
Don't tell me there was no knife. I don't want to hear there was no knife. Do you understand? I don't want to hear there was no knife. Now, it could have been a little knife. It could have been one of those little red knives. What do they call those? Swiss Army knives. You know.
I never held a knife. I never seen a knife.
Yeah.
And that is after my surgery. The police would not release the other pictures before the thing.
Oh, I'm sure they were terrible.
Yes,
Who do you have to blame for that?
Steve.
No! You! He was protecting his cousin.
His cousin was in the house when I had gotten hit. Angela was out of
Just
the
a
car.
minute. If her cousin was in the house,
After
and you
this
had come
happened-
to speak, listen to me. If she had run into the house because her head got loose, right? And you had finished your conversation with her,
Yes, ma'am.
what were you doing out of the car?
Because as I looked over to leave Angela, she was gone out of the car. I stepped out of the car to check on her, and that's
What do you
when I
mean
got-
check on her? What was she doing out of the car?
I have no idea. All I know, as it was going on, they were yelling about guns and everything. So I look over and she's gone. I get out to make sure she's okay, and that's when I got hit. No one chased anyone. I got hit as
Oh,
soon as
yeah?
I stepped in the grass.
Why did you step in the grass for? Why didn't you stay in the car?
I got out to check on her. That's my
That
fault for
caused
being
your
a
broken
friend.
face. You started this trouble. I believe him when he says there was a knife in the console of the car, that he had seen it. Oh, I believe that. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Whatever bills you had for your face, take care of them. You went over there to cause trouble that evening. There's no question in my mind that you did. And you got it. You got more trouble than you bargained for. Well, that sometimes happens to bullies. Bullies sometimes get the short end of the stick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I didn't smash his window in. I threw my shoe. And
You told
it hit
me in
his
your
window.
answer, madam, that you were aiming for him.
No, I threw my shoe at him, and it hit
Right.
his-
What word didn't you understand that I said?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Stover is suing Angela Morton and Jessica Shibley for having him falsely prosecuted and for smashing his windshield.
So the police were called, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you stopped?
The police never come to us. We went up the street, which my mother lives 3 houses up the street from this. We went to another friend's house, and she called the ambulance. The ambulance come, the police come. I went straight to emergency room.
And what'd you break his window for?
I broke his window because he was trying to leave, and she was laying on the ground, and I was scared, so I just threw my shoe. I wasn't running up to his truck, and I didn't smash his window in. I threw my shoe.
You
and it
told
hit
me in
his
your
window.
answer, madam, that you were aiming for him.
No, I threw my shoe at him, and it hit
Right.
his-
That's
his
what you
truck.
said. What word didn't you understand that I said? You said in your answer, I was aiming for him, and he ducked, and I hit the window.
Yes.
Why?
Because she was laying on the ground. I didn't know what he was going back in his truck to get, if he was going to hit me.
What were you doing out of your car?
I was out of my car because they were screaming stuff. I didn't want them to run up on me and hit me.
They weren't running anywhere. She was in the house, according to your friend, and he had walked away. So what did you get out of your car for?
I got out of my car because him and Brad were hollering stuff.
And you didn't like that they were hollering stuff. You have
No, I didn't know
Did you
what
ever
they
hear
were gonna
sticks
do.
and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me?
I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't want to be
What,
sitting
well,
in the
if you
car
don't know what they're
anymore.
going to do, madam, then you get in your car and you go away. You don't get out of your car to confront them, especially when you've been the aggressor. You don't get out of your car. You stay in your car, and you go to her mother's house, which is 3 houses away. So you were arrested.
Yes, ma'am. I was running. After I got my cousin loose, we all scattered, and we were running to get away from the trouble. They chased me to the truck.
I believe that they chased you to the truck. Oh, I believe that they chased you to the truck. So you were, in fact, arrested.
Yes, I was.
How long were you incarcerated?
I explained the story, what happened to the magistrate at the time, and he let me out on my own recognizance.
And why do you say you lost earnings?
Okay, originally, the first charge, when it was dismissed, they brought up new charges and made it aggravated malicious wounding and was a felony. And the city of Roanoke will not allow you, even though I hadn't been convicted, they will not allow me to have my cab license.
Now, let me ask you this question. How many witnesses testified at the criminal trial?
Myself, April, Tammy, and Brad.
Tammy, you were there?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up here, please. Do you know these two young ladies?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see Jessica get hit in the face?
Yes, ma'am, I saw everything.
Saw everything?
Yes, ma'am, I was standing right there when everything happened.
I would like you to tell me how close Jessica was to the truck when she got hit in the face.
She was at the door to the truck because Steve reached in and he turned around and Jessica was there because they both ran past me to get to the truck. I was standing next to the car when everybody jumped out.
She wasn't a truck length away.
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, did you see Steve run to the truck?
I saw Steve run to the truck because April went flying. Steve immediately ran to the truck past me, right next to me. Jessica jumped out of the car, ran past me.
She jumped out of the...
She came barreling out of the car. I mean, she jumped out of the car.
How far did she have to run to get to the truck?
About a car and a half length.
But she was right behind him.
She was right behind him.
And where was Angela at this time?
Angela was on the other side of the car, and she jumped out of the car at the same time Jessica did.
Did she run up behind Jessica?
She was at the door as soon as Steve hit Jessica. Steve jumped in the car, locked the window. Angela was right there at the truck and smashed the window.
I have all the receipts also for a rental car.
No, I don't need anything. You're suing the defendants, both defendants, for $5,000. You're claiming that as a result of their actions, you were arrested, you had to go through 2 trials. Were you given a public defender, or did you have to hire a lawyer?
I got a public defender.
And you went through how many days of trial?
The latter half of the trial lasted from about 12:30 in the afternoon to 6 in the evening, and then it was held over. The judge said he would make his decision. He was going to read over all the paperwork, and I had to come back the 26th.
How many witnesses did you have at the trial?
1. Just 1.
Evidently, the judge didn't believe you. Me neither. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaims dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues. Is the grandfather of 16-year-old Jade Warner. Jade claims that her former high school friend, 18-year-old Jessica Reno, keyed her grandfather's car after they had a falling out.
Come to order. Order in the court. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 215 on the calendar in the matter of Warner versus Reno. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You're welcome. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Warner, you really don't know anything about this case. You are merely the owner of the car that was damaged. Is that right?
Correct.
And it's your granddaughter who was driving the car or the truck.
Correct.
So why don't you have a seat, and I'd like to see Jade Warner, please. Step up. Miss Warner, according to what I've read, you and the defendant were friends for a while, and then you had sort of a falling out over a boy. It was your boyfriend or her boy's boyfriend, and then it became your boyfriend. Whatever, it's nonsense. In any event, this thing culminated, according to you, when the defendant keyed your car. And you say that happened on the 19th of August.
Yes.
Where did it happen?
It happened at Holly Kellogg's house.
And what makes you think that the defendant, who denies that she did this, was involved in keying your car?
At 9:55 p.m. on August 19th, Holly called me because she needed a ride home from her work. I went up there to go pick her up, and as I was walking out with Holly, Jessica was standing by my car.
Okay, so you know Holly?
Yes.
Well, according to your answer, I read your answer, you said she was a friend of yours.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
Okay, I was leaving Coach's, and...
Coach's is what?
Holly's work. And Jessica was in a truck, a white truck, with her other friend, and they followed me from Holly's work to Holly's house, which is about 5 miles. As we went into Holly's house, I parked my car. We went in there. I was getting a couple of things out of Holly's room. Holly was closing her blinds. As she was looking in her blinds, she saw Jessica circle...
Don't tell me what she saw. Where is Holly?
Holly is right there.
Step up, please. No, you can stay.
Okay.
Right next to him. All right, so the plaintiff picked you up from work,
Correct.
drove you home.
Correct.
You all went inside. According to the plaintiff, you observed something when you were closing the blinds when you got
Correct.
into your house. What did you observe?
As I was closing the blinds, I looked out my window and noticed there was a white truck and pulled up like closely to my driveway, and we have a security light outside that comes on and like a motion detector. And I looked out to see a like white truck with designs on the side. I noticed that it was the truck that Miss Reno had been riding in as they had followed me to my house from work.
How do you know that they had followed you home? Did you see the truck?
Yes. As I got into the car, I noticed that someone was following us closely, and I was looking behind to figure out who it was, and I noticed it was them, and I proceeded to ask Jade if they had had a problem or something, because I didn't understand why.
When you said you saw it was them, did you turn around to look in the rearview mirror?
I turned around and looked, and she had switched lanes, and so I saw that. I saw that it was completely those, Jessica and her friend in the white truck.
Okay. Now, when you got to your house, did you see the truck?
They
Before
didn't-
you looked out the window,
Correct.
did you see the truck as you pulled up to
No.
your truck?
As I had made a right-hand turn to turn onto one of the streets that leads me to my house, they had gone straight. As I watched them like speed off, I saw Jessica with her hand out the window, flipping us off, yelling something, and I didn't understand at that point what was going on, because as far as I knew, her and I had been friends.
Okay. Now you're inside the house, closing your blinds. Now you're going to tell me exactly what you saw.
Okay. As I look out my blinds, I see that there's the same white truck with there was a driver in the car, which was Jessica's friend. Jessica was walking around Jade's car, and her hand was down here, and I was trying to figure out what was going on, and as I looked and glanced a little bit longer, I could see that she was keying her car, and I didn't want to walk outside, so I stayed inside and yelled for my mom, and my mom came out, and then I saw the truck speed off.
Then you went outside after this.
Correct.
What did you observe when you went outside?
There was key marks on my car.
Do you have photographs?
Yeah.
May I see them, please?
On the photographs, you can see the metal that has been, but it's clearly the 4 panels on each side of the car.
Certainly is. Okay. Ms. Reno, let's hear you.
Okay, I brought my friend Jessica.
Don't tell me you brought your friend. You look at me.
Okay, about 9:20, my friend had picked me up from my house. We went over to my friend Jason's house, and he wasn't there. His roommate had told us that he was going to Coach's to have dinner with his family and then going to Sharky's to play pool. So we went over to Coach's, and there we had seen Jade, and we saw her car after we came out. And I had wondered how she got in, because she's not even 18. So I had asked someone that was in her car if she was coming to hang out or whatever, and how she got in, because she's not 18. And she said that they were here to pick up Holly, and I was like, oh, okay, I want to see Holly, because me and Holly are friends. So she came after she had said that. She came outside, and Holly said hi, and we gave each other a hug, and then we proceeded on about our night. They got in their car, they left. We got in the truck, we left. We followed them to about Avenue L. They turned right, and we turned left. We proceeded to go to Sharky's, which is a pool hall, to look for my friend, and he wasn't there, and so we just proceeded to go to Jessica's house, which we were there by 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Now, who were you with that night?
Jessica.
Jessica, what's her last name?
Pavovarov.
Is that you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Step up. Do you know Holly?
No, Your Honor, I don't. I met her just briefly at a party they had at their house.
Do you know Jade?
I met Jade before. She spent the night at our house when she was 14 years old.
How long ago was that?
Almost two and a half, Your Honor.
Were you driving a white truck that night?
Yes, I was.
Does the white truck have any markings on it?
It has a big dent in the side, and it has pinstriping on it.
Mm-hmm. You yourself have never had a falling out with Miss Warner,
No,
is that right?
No.
But you know that Miss Reno has had some problems with her.
Well, from what I knew, they were friends, and I don't know what happened between them. They just stopped hanging out.
Okay. Now, you heard Holly tell me that at some point when the cars separated after she was picked up from work, that Miss Reno gestured out her car window to their car and said something. Did you hear that?
No, Your Honor. What's funny is from where they live and where we live and all the way to Sharkey's, it's totally the distance. We're going the opposite way. And we have a map right here that shows that it's the opposite way. And my mom was at home when we got there, and we got there, it was before even 10. So if this happened at, what, 9:55, when this supposedly happened, then there's no possible way because we were at home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says former high school friend, 18-year-old Jessica Reno, keyed her grandfather's car.
Okay. What time that evening did you get picked up at work?
About 10:15. I hadn't clocked out till 10:12 that evening.
And how long does it take you to get home?
Takes me about 10 minutes.
So you were at home by 10:30.
Correct.
And it's your statement that you were in your house at 10:30.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to hear from your mother.
That's good.
Your last name?
Pivovarov.
Do you recall the evening of August 19th?
Yes, I do.
How do you recall that evening?
Because Jessie had come home from San Diego to visit her friend, and I had gone to bed early because I was very tired, and I have a little dog that sleeps with me, and just before 10 it started barking and woke me up, and I had seen my clock on the end table, and it's a digital, but I only could see the first number, and it was 9 something, because the first digit of the clock I could see, and I had my Bible and my book studies on my stand, and it was covering the last couple numbers. And I tried to quiet my dog down, and she wouldn't relax, so I finally got up, and the girls were in the kitchen talking and snacking. So I sat up until probably about 12 o'clock that night with them talking. So they were in, I would say, at least a couple minutes before 10.
Were you contacted by the police that night?
I wasn't, but I was there when Jessica Reno's mom, Pat, called the house and said the police had been at her house. I was sitting at the table with the girls when they called. And the police had asked, I believe, my address and stuff, but they never did come over.
Approximately what time did you receive that phone call?
12:30.
No.
I don't know. I don't even know what time it was. Probably 11:30, 12. I don't know.
And you stayed downstairs with them the entire evening?
Yeah, until I went to bed, and it was after 12, and I finally went to bed, and then they were still up talking.
Were you there when the phone call came in from Jessica's mother?
Yes, I was.
Did you speak to Jessica's mother?
I don't think I did.
Well, let me ask you this question. Clearly, when her mother called, she said something about the police wanting to speak to Jessica.
Well, my daughter answered the phone.
When the phone rang and it was Jessica's mom on the phone, what did she say to you?
She said, I need to speak with Jessica. And I said, okay. And then Jessica started talking to her mom, and she's like, what? What are you talking about? You know?
So there came a time, I assume, when Jessica got off the phone with her mom. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And did she tell you what had happened?
Yes.
What did she say during the course of the conversation with you about the conversation she had with her mother?
She said that the cops went to the house and they said that Jade had called the cops and said that Jessica had keyed Jade's car. And then we got another call later saying Jessica's car had been egged with 82 eggs, and it's a coincidence that Jade's car got keyed and Jade thought it was Jessica, so all of a sudden Jessica's car got egged with 82 eggs and the house.
Just a second. I'm not finished.
Yes, ma'am.
That's more information than I asked for. Now, you got off the phone with Jessica's mom. The police were looking for her. Is that right? That's what your mother told you?
Yes.
And you knew that your daughter and Jessica had been out together that night?
That's right, Your Honor.
And then you went to bed?
Right.
You didn't call back Jessica's mother?
No.
You weren't concerned that if they were looking for Jessica about something that happened that night, perhaps your daughter was involved?
Because...
No, I'm just asking you. You weren't concerned that if the police
yes,
were looking
I was,
for your
but
daughter...
I knew.
Let me finish. You weren't concerned that if the police were looking for Jessica because of an incident that happened that night, because I assume they got off the phone and told you what the police were looking for her for,
yes,
right?
Your Honor.
And I assume that you knew that the two girls were together.
That's right.
So it would seem logical to me as a parent that you would want to get this information about where these two girls were accused of being that night, at least from her mother, not from what she's reporting to you. But you went to bed.
Yes, because Mrs. Reno had talked to the police.
How do you know that?
Because she said the police had been at her house.
Right.
Had been at her
That's
house.
what I'm saying. But
Oh,
Jessica
sorry.
reported that to you,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Jessica's reporting all of this to you about the conversation,
Right.
right?
Right.
So Jessica's reporting about the conversation to you. And you as a parent of a young girl, knowing that they're out together that night, don't pick up the phone to call the other mother? You
No.
went to sleep?
No, because she told Jessica the cops had been there. The incident happened after 10, and I knew the girls were at my house, so I knew they couldn't have done it.
Well, then I would have picked up the phone and made a phone call to either the police or to her mother and said, that's impossible. How could they be looking for Jessica and Jessica when they were both here sitting in my kitchen having cookies and milk?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If somebody said to you, your daughter has just been accused of being involved in a crime, you wouldn't go to sleep and say, I hope somebody figures this out. I hope we have Sherlock Holmes on the case.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jade Warner says former friend Jessica Reno owes for keying her grandfather's car.
Okay. Now, one of my children were accused of being involved in a vandalism. And I knew that my children were sitting at the kitchen table with me. I would have called back Jessica's mother and said to her, give me the name of the police officer who just called you, because I have to call them immediately and tell them that the girls were sitting with me for the last hour and a half. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Have a seat. Let me see estimates for the damage to the car. We understanding each other?
Yes, we do very well. Thank you, Your Honor.
Right.
Your Honor.
Who wants to say something? Sure.
I'm Jessica's mom. The girls were at my house, left at 9:40. We have brought a map, or 9:20, I'm sorry, of the 3 places they went.
I don't believe that they went to the 3 places, madam. Your daughter does not deny the fact that she was at Coach's. The only discrepancy is where they went after Coach's. The only defense that they have is that they went directly to Jessica Two's house, where they were sitting in the kitchen having milk and cookies at the time of this incident. I don't need a map. I need the truth. And she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Because if you are a concerned parent, now just figure out what I just said to her. If somebody called your house and said to you, your daughter has just been accused of vandalizing property or being involved in a crime, and you knew she was sitting at your kitchen table during that time, all night, would you not contact the police and tell them that immediately? Would you not do that?
I would do that.
Of course. You wouldn't go to sleep and say, I hope somebody figures this out. I hope we have Sherlock Holmes on the case. You would pick up the phone and you would call immediately. This lady, who's a very nice lady, has a daughter who's driving a car, a truck, who at least could be considered, if this were true, an accomplice.
But her daughter was not accused of this crime. It was just
I'm telling you, if you are driving the car in which somebody is using as a vehicle to get away from performing a crime, they call that in movie land the getaway car. Then you pick up the phone and you say, the girls couldn't have been involved with that because they were with me. Right? Of course.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'll tell you one of the things that I found most interesting, Miss Reno. There is a witness. There is an eyewitness. And the eyewitness is somebody who, according to you, was a friend of yours. Because I'm going to read from your answer. Holly is a girl who I've been friends with for years. Holly said hi and gave me a hug. This was at Coach's that night. So you have to say to yourself, why in the world would somebody make up a story about having seen a friend commit a crime unless it were true. When somebody is a crime victim, they don't want just somebody to be punished. They want the right person to be punished. They don't want the wrong person to be punished. That doesn't make them feel good. So I can understand it. If you two girls had had a falling out and you accused her, anyway, maybe you were making it up, maybe it wasn't her, maybe you thought it might be her. But when Holly says she saw you, and then your mother doesn't give me a very maternal answer as to what she did after she found out that the police were looking for the girls by going to sleep, I find that I am convinced by the required quantum of proof in this civil proceeding, which is proof by clear and convincing evidence, that you, in fact, are responsible. And the damage is $1,648.22. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Retired Secretary Dolores Moore is suing her nephew, 31-year-old technician Edward Tabor, for tires and rims she sold him. Ed says he's already paid. She's just being greedy.
Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 65 on the calendar in the matter of Moore versus Tabor. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Moore, the defendant is your sister's son. Is that right?
Yes.
Your sister died recently.
Yes.
Some 4 years ago, according to your complaint, your husband bought a car. And he had either new tires from that car or new tires from his old car, tires and rims. And you tried to sell those for a while. You put ads in the Penny Saver or in your local, whatever, and you got no takers.
Right. Yeah.
And then there came a time last year when you claimed that you sold the tires to your nephew.
Yes.
You say for $800, he says for $600. This lawsuit claims that he never paid you. And in addition, you say that this whole tire business has created certain animosity in your family. You want to be compensated for that too. You can't be compensated for that. Family squabbles happen. The courts are not here to take care of hurt feelings. They're here to take care of money. But I have a couple of questions for you, because your defense is that you gave her the money. Is that right?
Yes.
You had these 4 old tires hanging around for at least 3 years. Nobody wanted them. If you knew that your nephew wanted them, and according to what I read here, Miss Moore, you were a very close family.
Yes.
Why didn't you just give them to him?
They were brand new, Your Honor. They were brand new tires and rims. They'd never been on the road. And I needed the money, so I was trying to sell them.
But nobody bought them for 3 years.
No, but I was selling them for $1,000, the best offer. And I realized no one...
You realize my question?
Yes.
My question is, if you have a piece of property, okay, that nobody wants. Nobody wanted them for 3 years.
But I knew someone would want them eventually.
Eventually, maybe
Ford.
some... Miss Moore, just
sorry.
check me out. I mean, I have nieces and nephews. So what I'm asking you is, if you have a nephew, your sister's son, you're a really close family, nobody wants him. It's not as if your husband got the car, he had new tires, your nephew said to you, listen, instead of selling them to a stranger, I'll buy them. Maybe you'll give me a break on the price. You had them sitting in your garage for 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted them. So why didn't you just give him the tires if he wanted them? To make peace with everybody.
We needed the money so desperately, Your Honor.
For what?
My husband was gone. I wasn't working. I'm disabled. My son is disabled. We rented out rooms to make ends meet. I didn't have any money. I even offered him $20 a month if he'd pay it, just to buy us some, bread, milk, help us. I needed to sell them. I know I couldn't.
But you would try to sell them.
Yes, I kept trying.
And you weren't successful.
In fact, the same week that it came out in the paper again, because sometimes I'd take a few months and, just try to rest from it. And I just put them back in the paper, and he happened to come over the same day they came out.
You mean the same day the ad came out?
The ad came out, yes.
Okay. And you say he didn't pay you?
I love him dearly, too. I loved them all. If I'd had the money, I would have gave them to him.
Okay. Mr. Tabor, I'll hear you.
Okay. Well, on May 30th, on a Memorial Day weekend, I believe, last year, well, we were talking, me and my dad. I just bought a T-Bird in '97. The rims would fit. So my dad said to me that I should offer her $600. Yes, he's here.
Step up, sir.
Would you like me to continue?
Yes.
Okay, he said to offer her $600. He had the cash on him. I went into the kitchen. I offered her the $600. She took it. My cousin Pam Doubt is a witness here. She watched me hand her the money in the kitchen.
Is that you?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Could you step up, please?
And
you remember this incident, Miss Dad?
I'm a member of seeing him hand her some money in the kitchen. I only went in for a bottle of steak sauce, Your Honor. I didn't mean to get involved in all of this, but they were doing a cash transaction in the kitchen. He was handing her, it was $600 or $700. I didn't ask what it was for, but he had taken me outside that day to show me his new car, and he told me that he was purchasing Uncle Bob's rims. But that's all I know. I did see him handing her money.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
And
have a seat.
my wife is here because we did pay my father back the money that we borrowed. So, I mean,
So you
that's why I
borrowed
brought
this
my
money
wife.
from your dad?
Yes.
What is your last name? Is your last name Tabor?
No, Lily.
Mr. Lilly, had you intended to purchase these rims for your son or to loan him the money when you came this Memorial Day weekend?
No,
You had not.
no. I never give it a thought.
Okay, but you had that much cash with you.
Yes.
Were you there when this transaction took place?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
Well, when they was talking about the tires, Ed did offer $600 because that's really all they were worth as far as I was concerned. Because that's what I told them to offer. And they discussed it. We went outside and I talked to Ed and I talked to Gina. And I told them that I would let them have the money if they really wanted them. And they did want them, so I gave Ed the money.
You gave your son the money?
Yes.
And were you there when he allegedly gave the money to the plaintiff?
I was not in the room when they gave the money to him.
Okay. Who was there, Mr. Tabor?
Just my aunt and my cousin Pam.
But your aunt is here, is the only one here, and that was
Well,
the steak sauce
my
incident?
cousin, excuse
I'm
me.
the cousin.
You're
I'm the steak
cousin.
sauce cousin.
You're
That's
the steak
right.
sauce cousin.
That's right.
Did you pay your dad back?
Yes.
How long did it take you to pay your dad back?
I would say over 6 months, maybe 8. My wife is the one that gave him the money.
Is that right? Tell me what happened to create this hard feeling with your family.
My mom passed on, and the families had gone south. We don't talk anymore. We've separated.
So what you're saying is that it was your mother who kept everybody together?
Absolutely.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Doris Moore says her nephew Edward Tabor has not paid her for tires and rims for his Thunderbird. Ed says she's been paid.
When for the first time were you contacted about the money for the tires?
I was called, and she asked for money, and I told her I was not going to give her more money than what she already had agreed upon.
Well, tell me about when that phone call was. How much after your mother died?
It was probably a good 3-4 months before she called me.
Is that correct that you called him about 3 or 4 months later?
Yes.
And what was the conversation when she called you?
Well, it started off about the gathering. Thanksgiving was coming up, and she wanted to know if we were all coming over for Thanksgiving. And I told her no, that we were going to be going to my brother's house. And she said that she made a promise to keep the families together for my mom. And I told her I had never told my mom that I would stay in contact with that side of the family. That
The whole side of the family?
Well, my aunt, they play music loud, drink a lot, and that's not my forte for holidays. I prefer to have peaceful family gatherings. We just get together and talk.
Okay.
So then she started mumbling about paying her money, and I told her that
Well,
I
what
had
did she
already
say
paid.
about paying her money?
Well, she did exactly that. She asked for money. And I don't know if, I know that she's been sick. I don't know if she recalls, if she's forgotten. I don't know what the situation is with her, Your Honor, but I told her I had already paid her. I'm not going to pay her anymore.
Do you remember having a conversation, Miss Moore, with your nephew?
Yes, I called to ask him if he had the money because we needed the money. And he said no, that he wasn't working, but his wife was, but they were just making ends meet. I said, do you think you could pay me $20 a month? I mean, that would be better than nothing. It would help us. And he said, yeah. He says, I probably could do that. He says, I'll be over next week. And he never showed up. So then about
Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
He didn't pay anything, Your Honor. I swear to God, he didn't. I'd have never taken him to court if he had him.
You have any witnesses, Miss Moore?
Yes, I have my daughter at Christmas Day. We were invited over to his oldest sister's. And I was sick Christmas. I couldn't go, so my daughter and my son went for dinner because I went to bed. And
this was Christmas after.
Yes, and they had a problem with.
You're her daughter?
Yes.
You know anything about this tire business?
Yes, I do.
Let me hear.
Well, she sold him the tires for $800. And
were you present when they made the transaction?
Not when they made the transaction.
Okay, so you don't know about that.
Okay. It was at Christmas time. We were all around.
Afterwards?
Yes. And she didn't go because she was sick. And this subject came up where he wanted to buy this game from my brother, the Risk game. And Raymond said that he would sell it to him for $800. And Eddie turned around and said, what do you mean $800? He says, I ain't paying you $800 for the thing. He says, well, that's what you owe for the tires. And then the conversation started and getting really bad. And next thing I know, Eddie wanted to take Raymond outside and duke it out. I said,
a minute.
Whoa.
Hold. Step up. Tell me your last name, sir.
James.
Mr. James, according to your sister, there was some talk Christmas time after the tires were purchased, about a game for $800.
Yes.
And you said that's what you owe for the tires.
Right.
Right? What did the defendant say to you?
He said he wanted the game for his wife's sister. I told him, well, you give the money for the tires and I will give you the game, $800.
That's because your mother had said that he still owed her the money for the tires.
Right, exactly. And I go, you give me that money and I will, transfer the game to you.
And what did he say to you?
And he said, let's go right now, outside.
Okay, so he did not at that point acknowledge that he owed any money for the tires.
He didn't tell me anything about that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Anyways, then after that, I calmed him down. We started to leave, and he followed me outside and pulled me off to the side, and we started talking about the deal about the tires. And he's saying, well, what about all this stuff that happened I turned around and I said, Eddie, all that stuff doesn't matter. That was a long time ago. I said, you bought the tires, you owe the money. And he more or less said to me, well, I owe the money, maybe she'll get it, maybe she won't.
Did you have that conversation with her?
I walked her outside, Your Honor,
Yes.
after the discussion with me wanting to beat up my cousin. Of course, he's quite a bit bigger. I'm not a fool. So anyways, she did start bringing up the matter of money, and I told her I'm not going to pay for something that I've already paid for before. Now, I don't owe her any money. I have paid her, and whether she has told her children that or not is beyond me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can tell you that I don't have much to do with the family, not because I don't enjoy them, it's just that the family dynamics are extremely unhealthy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dolores Moore wants her nephew, Edward Tabor, to pay her for the tires and rims she sold him.
Tell me about the conversation.
She asked me if I was going to pay for the rims and tires, and I told her that I had already paid for them. I told her that I had no intentions on paying her again, and that the families are better off without this kind of problem every holiday. And that is exactly why we do not have family gatherings like we used to when my mom was alive.
Yes.
We never had any problems at family holidays.
No.
Never. We always, the family has been very, very close for a very long time.
So what do you think happened?
I really don't honestly know. I would like to know the answer myself, because every
So would I.
Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every 4th of July, every single holiday, Memorial, Labor Day, everywhere, they all came over, we all barbecued, they all had beers, everybody shoot pool, we have a pool table, and everybody got along just fine. When my aunt died, my mom promised her on her deathbed that she would keep the family together. That was my aunt's main goal, please,
Yeah, but
Dolores.
there has to be a reason. I don't understand.
I don't know
these
what the reason
results.
is, Your Honor. I don't know. When my mom called to ask everybody over for Thanksgiving, the oldest daughter, which is his sister,
How
said,
could your mother invite everybody for Thanksgiving? She just told me she doesn't have money to put bread on the table for herself.
because I help her. I give her money. My Aunt June gives her money. Everybody gives her money so we can get this big family together. My mom is struggling. She owns her own home. She's, got payments.
Yes.
May I say something? After my husband passed away, he left this money clip, and it has a buffalo nickel in it. He may even have it on him, I don't know. But he wanted it so bad, and so I took it down and got it engraved just for him. That's how much I loved him. I would not hurt him if it wasn't unfair.
Your Honor.
I also have a tape that his stepdad, left me on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And it's an awful tape.
Your Honor.
I don't want to
hear it. May I play it?
I don't want to hear it.
Your
It's
Honor.
awful.
Well, why would I want to hear something awful? Did you leave a tape for her?
Yes.
I
I
have quite a temper, especially when I know sue-happy people, which she has sued several people.
I have not.
When sue-happy people are trying to get money out of my son. He's my stepson, but I never claimed him as a stepson. He's my son.
How long have you known him?
Since I was 17.
He was 17.
So?
He left a message. I heard him leave the message, Your Honor.
Was not
and
nice.
he
We won't
did
repeat
tell
it.
her that he will be in court to testify.
To prove that she's a liar.
He used the F word.
I got you. There's nothing you can do about it. Can I ask, can you sit down, sir, for one more minute? Could you step up here, please? Just give me your relationship to this family. You're a cousin. How are you a cousin?
Eddie is my cousin. His father is my mother's brother. I'm not that close with the family. I've gone to Aunt Dolores' house twice. I do call her Aunt Dolores out of respect. And I can tell you that I don't have much to do with the family, not because I don't enjoy them, it's just that the family dynamics are extremely unhealthy, and I prefer not to be involved. I went out of respect. My Aunt Alice was dying. It was the last time I knew I was going to see her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What she is saying, madam, is, and I believe her. I must tell you that I believe her. I see no reason why she would lie.
She's a wonderful lady.
About seeing an exchange of money on that Memorial Day between your nephew and you. Now, maybe it's possible.
That was the first time he wanted to buy him, Your Honor. They wouldn't fit his car.
You just told me that.
His car.
Just
No,
listen
they
to me.
wouldn't
No,
fit
he
his
went
car.
out and bought him a T-Bird so they'd fit.
The tires wouldn't fit on
The
the old
tires
car.
wouldn't fit on his old car.
So he went and got another car.
When was that?
That was about 2 years later, a year and a half later.
What
he
day are
bought
you talking
another
about,
car.
madam?
I'm stunned.
Well, step up here. Just let me finish
That
this.
was the first.
On what day were you at? What year? Let's try year.
Last year, Memorial Day.
That's last year, Memorial Day.
Correct.
Okay. It was the last.
That was the last time I
That
saw
you were
my-
there.
Absolutely.
So there's no question about that in your mind. It wasn't
There is no
2
question
years
in
ago.
my mind. I mean, I knew it was the last time I would see her alive. It is. I was there. They know I was at their home.
Okay.
Yes,
and that's the time that you saw the exchange of money.
That's when I saw the exchange in the kitchen.
Okay. And was that the day you got the tires?
Correct.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. I have to make a judgment. Okay? I have to make a judgment on who is telling me the truth. Put your hand down, sir. On who is telling me the truth. Now, it is possible that your mother was under a great deal of stress.
Yeah.
It is possible that she doesn't recall. It is possible. All of those things are possible. But I have to make a judgment based upon who I believe. And I will tell you,
He did not pay
I
for
believe
those
her.
tires. He
I
did
believe her. Case is dismissed. That's
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Year-old property manager Amy Mussolino is suing ex-boyfriend, 39-year-old health service manager Joseph Vietz, for his share of their daughter's orthodontist and therapy bills.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 147 on the calendar in the matter of Mussolino versus Vietz. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Mussolino, you and the defendant had a relationship back in the early 1990s, and that relationship produced a child, Kelly, who is now 8 years old, according to your complaint. You state that the defendant is under a court order to pay 1/2 of any unreimbursed medical bills for the child, and that he has not done so, especially with regard to the child's therapy.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Viets, your defense is that you're not consulted, that you feel as if the child is over-medicated, but primarily your complaint is that nobody asks you anything, just asks you to write a check.
That's a lot of it.
Well, you'll tell me what the rest is in a minute. Can I see a copy of the court order, please?
Yes, ma'am. These are actually 2 court orders.
Thank you. Okay. First of all, I assume, Mr. Viets, that you petitioned the court for a transfer of custody to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the resulting order indicates that there would be no transfer of custody to you, sir, but the court did, in fact, grant you extended visitation with the child.
Correct.
And that the court also found that there was sufficient evidence to find that you had interfered with Mr. Viets' visitation with the child and issued you a warning.
Yes, ma'am.
The court also, in that order, clearly states that the therapist who had been treating the child was to continue as her therapist, and that the two of you were to cooperate with that therapy. So what's the problem, Mr. Viets? Have you, in fact, paid the unreimbursed bills for therapy for the child?
No, ma'am, I have not.
So the onus now is upon you to convince me why this order should not, and I'm not acting as an appellate court, but unless there is something outrageous.
There is.
Well, then, I'll hear you.
Okay, thank you. Well, first, Your Honor, I need to make clear to you that I was not made aware of any outstanding bills whatsoever until I received a summons regarding those bills on May 16th, at which time I requested a bill of particulars. First off, I'm disputing $600 of orthodontist bills in the bill of particulars. Ms. Mussolino took it upon herself to select an orthodontist not covered by my good insurance. There are several available in our area. Instead of commuting 60 or 70 miles away to Richmond to one that's not covered by my insurance, she could have gone to Hampton, Newport News.
Okay. Is anything that you're suing for here about orthodontic bills? Or is it all about therapy bills?
It's I have a listing.
Let me see
if you would like it.
I thought it was all therapy bills. That's what she
No,
talks about, therapy bills. Okay. What's the Medical College of Virginia?
That is for orthodontists.
What did she start orthodontia for at her age?
She actually has a problem with her tongue. She has a tongue thrust problem.
She's a tongue thruster.
Right. And she not only may need braces, but she may need an appliance, which is called a tongue crib. They've actually are deciding that currently.
Why did you select the Medical College of Virginia for her treatment?
Specifically because the total price was $1,800, and the orthodontist who is covered under her insurance, which her father does provide, is $3,200.
But the $3,200 would or would not have been covered under his insurance?
No, that would be the portion which we would have to pay.
Okay. So if your complaint is, sir, that she chose somebody that wasn't covered by your insurance, that's a reasonable explanation, that she went to the Medical College of Virginia, listen to me, because it would ultimately be cheaper for both of you.
Do I have some proof of that, or is that just hearsay? If Ms. Mussolino would communicate with me so we could work things out for the betterment of our child and the bills that we have to split, perhaps we could make some progress here.
I believe her, because it would not be in her best interest, because she has to pay 50% too, to choose somebody that was more expensive rather than less expensive, right? Doesn't make sense.
Unless you have valuable assets such as 8 years experience and friendship with a practicing orthodontist that may give you a break on the side, Your Honor.
Don't give me a break on, listen
if
to
given
me.
the opportunity.
Listen, don't give me a break on the side. Everybody saved money. If all this orthodontia is going to cost us, according to her, $900 ultimately, because the total price is $1,800, trust me, you're getting away with murder. Let's hear the rest of your complaint.
All right, Your Honor. There's also on her list of bill of particulars, you'll see a $300 bill. It was on 5/5/99. That was for the doctor to be a witness on Amy's behalf in court back in '99.
Now, is that the Psychiatric Services of Virginia? Pay attention to me. You bill him $1,155.
Yes.
Does that include $300 for a court appearance that the doctor made to testify on your behalf?
Yes, it was a court appearance. No, it was not on my behalf. She was coming as our daughter's therapist to speak about our daughter.
That's not included in the judge's order. He's absolutely correct. So I'm eliminating $300. So that brings us down to $902. What else, sir?
Your Honor, on that same sheet of paper highlighted in pink at the top and the bottom of the page, you'll see 2 bills for $50, I believe, each for family psychotherapy. The others listed I did not highlight as individual psychotherapy for my daughter, and I'm not disputing that. I'm the one that originally sought out help for my child once I learned of the trauma she had experienced.
Actually, what he's discussing, his wife took her to in July of '99. He has visitation for the entire month of July. So she did, I believe, go in and participate with therapy.
That's not correct.
Well, one of them is in July of 1999. According to the order, you have visitation all of July. Did you take the child for therapy?
When she was staying with us in July, I did have to take her one time.
You did take her? And did you speak to the therapist?
I did when they were done.
She charged you?
For talking to her after she
Yes.
saw the patient.
No.
I didn't know any idea that she did. This is the first time.
Well, she did. But that, Mr. Vietz, is covered by the order because it says that the petitioner and respondent, the two of you, are to continue to cooperate fully.
If this is family psychotherapy, Your Honor, the last time I checked, I am the father of this child. I'm family.
You should have taken her.
I'm not allowed to. There's
No,
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 communication. She will...
Listen to me.
Yes.
Child was with you during July of 1999. Instead of you taking the child to the therapist, you had your wife take the child to the therapist. You should have taken the child to the therapist if you wanted to be involved.
The original appointment that I was going to take her to was rescheduled. I was not available for the next one.
That's not her fault.
I would
Do
like
you understand what I'm saying? If something else was more important or something else more pressing, you permitted your wife to take her. If it was rescheduled and if it was not a good day for you, you should have told the doctor, I'm not available on that day and I would really like to come in to see you. Instead, you let your wife take her. Forget it.
Judge Judy continues. Amy Mussolino says ex-boyfriend Joseph Vietz owes her for his share of their daughter's medical bills. Joseph says Amy won't consult him regarding their daughter.
Okay, what's next?
Well, Your Honor, actually, this whole case...
Just a minute, I want to know if that's it with regard to money.
I'm disputing the entire thing.
Well, you can't dispute the entire thing. The entire thing is covered by a 1999 order, Mr. Vietz.
That is supposed to fully comply, fully involve both of us, which she will not do. The order says fully.
Just a second. When was the last time you personally contacted Dr.
The last time I contacted her was the time that she told me she can give me no information whatsoever concerning my child because I'm the non-custodial parent, and that I was wasting my time, is what she had told me.
Was that before or after she appeared in court?
Same time, a day or two around the same time.
And you had a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Then if you had a lawyer, sir, your lawyer was obligated. This is what you wanted. You wanted to have total access to the child's medical, dental, and school records. That's something that is dealt with all the time in court. Either your lawyer raised that issue before the court, and the court said no, which is bizarre, or your lawyer didn't raise the issue, in which case he or she was remiss in not raising that issue, and you still have an opportunity to go back and have that issue resolved.
And I will.
And you can. So, Ms. Mussolino.
Yes.
One of the things that he is complaining about is that he's not consulted. Now, that may not be an easy thing to do because he may be resistant when you try to consult with him. But if what he is requesting is that he have access to the child's school records and medical and dental records and open communication with the child's therapist, that's a very easy thing for you to resolve even without going back to court. And then, if he doesn't avail himself of picking up the telephone and calling, that's his problem.
He's never discussed it with me.
Well, now we're discussing it. Listen, I'm trying to resolve this issue. $902 is what he owes. What I'm asking you is, are you prepared to enter into a stipulation with Mr. Vietz that permits him the same access that you have to all of the child's records?
That's fine with me.
Fine. That's what she says. That's
you.
fine. So, sit down, do it today, right outside. It's a very simple order.
That's wonderful.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $902.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Cool. All this woman did was birth my child and bill me for everything.
This is the first time in 6 years which I've sought any money for anything.
And now the next case.
All parties on Goldsmith versus Red. Step forward, please.
39-year-old steelworker Richard Goldsmith is suing his ex-girlfriend, 29-year-old student Sean Red, for an unpaid loan to buy a house.
Mr. Goldsmith, according to your complaint, sir, you and the defendant dated for a while and lived together for a short while. She was purchasing a home, and when it came time to close, she was missing some money, about $4,000. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct.
And you loaned her $4,000.
Yes, I did.
You lived together with her in the home for a couple of months with an arrangement that you would pay her $500 a month for your share of the rent, utilities, whatever. You did not pay her that while you were together.
Right.
So you knocked off $1,000 from the loan. Then you separated, and she made one payment to you. You want the remainder, which is $3,000 less $80. It's your position that this was never a loan. Is that right?
Correct.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you giving her the money.
Well, we both had an agreement to where she paid me $80 every...
Now tell me the circumstances surrounding her telling you that she needed the money.
She was short $4,000.
Let's start out.
Okay.
She was buying a house. There came a time when she needed some extra money.
Correct.
You were sitting in the living room. You were sitting in the bedroom. You were driving in the car. Where were you when you had this discussion?
My living room, in my apartment.
Were you living together in your apartment?
Yes, we were.
How long had you been living together?
2 months.
Is that right?
Approximately 2 or 3.
Were you paying rent while you were living in his apartment?
I paid rent. I paid other bills for him. I did grocery shopping.
No, that's...
Yes, I paid rent.
How much rent did you pay? Is not an answer.
It varied.
No, if it varies, you don't vary with rent. Were you paying rent?
Yes, I was.
How much rent were you paying?
$250.
That's not true. That's a good made-up answer, but it's not true.
Right.
Of course it's true.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're sitting in your living room. She said to you, I'm supposed to close my house, and I'm short $4,000. You said to her, that's what I want to hear, sir. I don't want to hear about this.
I said, okay, I will lend you $4,000.
Oh, you mean I just guessed it right off the top?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Richard Goldsmith says ex-girlfriend Sean Red owes him for a loan for the down payment on a home. Sean says Richard has threatened to burn the house down.
Okay. Let's not play with me, all right? Let's do this quickly, efficiently, with honest answers. All right, so you're sitting in your living room in the house where you had been living rent-free, according to you, 3 months. And
we had an agreement to where if she borrowed $4,000, she would pay me $80.
Not an agreement. I don't want to hear agreement. I want to hear what she said to you and what you said to her.
She said she promised to pay me $80 every 2 weeks.
Are we missing each other?
What do you need to know?
I want to know how she told you she needed the money.
For a house payment, $4,000 short.
Are you his interpreter? I mean, I think he needs an interpreter. You're sitting in your living room.
Correct.
She said to you, honey, I have a problem. I'm supposed to close my house, and I'm short $4,000. And you said to her, that's what I want to hear, sir. I don't want to hear about this.
I said, okay, I will lend you $4,000.
Oh, you mean I just guessed it right off the top? Oh, they don't pay me enough for this job.
Sure.
You're right. Okay. Did he give you the $4,000?
Yes, he gave me $4,000.
In check or cash?
I think it was cash.
It was check. I have the check, right?
Let me see. Okay. And when you gave her the check, she agreed to pay you back.
Correct.
Tell me about the $80 that she paid you.
I went to her house and told her that I'd appreciate if she'd come over and pay off some of her debt. So then very next day, she come over. My roommate, Chucky, answered the door. She handed me 4 20s. I said, hold on, I'll get you a receipt. And she flipped me off and walked to her car and left. She said, I don't want no damn receipt.
So, let's hear you.
Richard and I dated for a while. He did lend me the money after he had conveniently cleaned out my bank account and I no longer had the money for my mortgage.
How did you clean out your bank account?
I lent him money for all kinds of things.
Give me an example.
I paid to have his motorcycle fixed. I paid to have it fixed twice, as a matter of fact. I paid bills for Richard.
When she did pay for my motorcycle, I did pay her back.
Okay. So far, I haven't heard about any loans. So far, I just heard about what you paid for.
Well, because a relationship is give and take. He needed money, I gave it to him. I needed money, he gave it to me. After we broke up and he wasn't around the house anymore, he continuously harassed me.
I'm not interested in that. If you didn't want him to harass you, you got to pay him back his money.
He wasn't harassing me for money, Your Honor. He never mentioned money until he got in trouble with the law and needed some money to pay whoever.
Well, now he's here.
I understand that, Your Honor. He harassed me constantly. He harassed my sister. He came to my house one time, told me that if I didn't open the door, he was going to burn the house down with me and my children in it.
That is such a lie.
It is not, Richard.
What difference does it make?
I come knocking out.
What difference does it make?
How was I supposed to pay him back when I had to quit my job because he would not leave me alone?
Why does one quit their job because someone doesn't leave them alone?
I was a bartender, Your Honor. You can't have a man coming in there constantly leaning over a bar screaming at you.
One time.
No, not one time, Richard.
One time.
So, how did you support yourself?
I've been doing odd jobs. I'm going to school.
Going to school doesn't usually pay you a salary.
Well, but eventually in the end it will.
Oy.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Okay. Now, the right thing to do is to return his money to him. I mean,
Then he should return the money that he borrowed from me.
I don't have any evidence, madam, that he borrowed any money from you. You didn't have an arrangement with him. You paid for some groceries, but it didn't work out. And if it doesn't work out, you got to pay him back his money. Bird, I have a sense that there's a lot more here than I'm going to get out of this case.
Probably so.
Right? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,920, giving you credit for the $80 that you paid him, and $1,000 for your rent. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Bank analyst Darcy Sansing is suing landlords Ellen, Veronica, and Jeffrey Hobson for an unlawful eviction. The Hobson family is countersuing for destroying a family party and making threats.
Come to order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 220 on the calendar in the matter of Sansing versus Hobson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Okay, who's going to speak for the Hobson family?
Me.
Who are you?
Her daughter-in-law, Veronica Hobson.
What do you have to do with this case?
I'm the one who verbally told her that we needed the room by October 1st.
Why don't you have a seat? And who are you?
I'm Ellen's son. I'm also a defendant in this case.
Sit down. Sit down. Miss Sampson, you rented a room from the defendant, is that correct?
Yes.
When did you rent a room from her?
12/15 of 99 until August 10th, maybe the 15th of 2000.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy, is that right?
Yes.
How much was your rent?
$500 a month.
What you are suing for is really an illegal eviction. You're suing for harassment, pain and suffering, and the return of your deposit. You say she didn't give you sufficient notice when she told you to leave, causing you all kinds of stress, and she did not return your security.
Also the overpayment also for the month of August. I felt that I was forced to move before the end of the August, so I'm also asking for that too. The prorated amount from the 15th of August to the end.
Somebody's counterclaiming here for some nonsense about ruining a birthday party. I'll hear about that later. Ms. Hobson indicates in her answer that there came a time, sometime in May, that you indicated to her that you would be moving out. Is that correct?
No, it is not.
Did you ever have a conversation with her indicating that you would be moving out?
Not in the month of May.
When?
in the month of July 4th weekend.
I'd like you to tell me what the conversation was.
That my boyfriend and I would be buying a home and we would try to live together before we got married. That I would probably be moving by the first of the year.
Had you had any difficulty prior to that?
No, never.
So everything was fine?
As far, yes.
Okay. You were a good tenant. She was a reasonable landlord. You paid your rent on time?
Yes.
Okay. So there came a time when she told you you had to leave.
Right.
Tell me about that.
The daughter-in-law came to me on August 9th and had said that I needed to be out by October 1st.
By 10/1?
10/1, yes. And I asked her why, and she said I didn't supply some papers for a daycare, which are not in any writing. This is a verbal.
It said what?
Supply papers for a daycare that she was opening up, and for, I guess, the state to check me out. So I asked her, okay, well, you know, whatever the reason is, I just would like it in writing. She thought that I was having an attitude because I asked for me to leave in writing. And at that time, then from there on, it just got crazy.
Well, tell me about how crazy it got.
I went outside to talk to Ellen, and at the time I asked her, you know, about them asking me to move and why she didn't confront me and ask me to move and why was she leaving it to the daughter-in-law. We had an argument there, so I went back in.
Tell me about the argument.
Just about things that I had done. I left a bowl in the sink, that I didn't supply these papers, this and that. And it was just, it's not true. The stuff that they're saying was not true. So I turned and I left, and the next day when I came home from work, there was this letter here.
That was on the 10th of August?
Yes, the next day. It was underneath the door. This is actually a second letter that was left. The first letter, when I was outside waiting for the police to come, they switched the letters. But anyway, that's the letter that she left me with my 30-day notice. When I read the letter, I went out, she was outside, and I walked outside and I had told her, you know, I thought that this is ridiculous, but whatever your reasons are, I will move. I also told her that I felt like I was being harassed, and at that time I may seek some kind of illegal advice. She got just so upset, and I turned away, I walked around and went in the room. At that time, her and Veronica forced their way into the room. They either kicked it or they punched the door in. At that time, I got on the phone because they were saying that they were going to throw me out right then and there with all my belongings. And so I called the police. I went outside to wait for the police. It took a couple hours. And so I left that night. The police told me to leave and come back later on that night and get some things. When I came back that night, all of them were making physical threats, and even Veronica, while I was waiting for the police, was trying to provoke a fight, like walking on the back of my legs right behind me, telling me her husband's going to beat me up, they're going to do things.
This is Veronica?
Yes.
Okay.
Her husband's going to beat me up, they're going to do things to my car and stuff. When I came back that night, then all three of them were jumping in on the bandwagon.
Do they all live there?
Yes, they do.
And they've always lived there?
Yes.
And you never had any problem with them before?
Never. I think I was so upset at the beginning of all this because I couldn't really understand why they were actually behaving like this.
Okay. So you moved out, and you did not receive your security deposit back?
I did not receive my security deposit back.
And how much was the security deposit?
It was $500.
And you were fully paid for the month of August?
Yes.
Okay.
I also have police reports here for that. I also went back on Friday because I was afraid of the things that they were actually going to do things to my belongings. I went back. I took time off from work on Friday. I went to the home. It was about 11:30, and the locks were changed. The locks that I were given were changed. I couldn't get in, so I sat down. The police told me to call if I couldn't get in, so I did. And while I was waiting for the police, Ellen came outside and said that she wasn't letting me in because I didn't lock the door the night before. And then she left in the car with Veronica's baby. And then about 10 minutes after that, the police came, and here's the police report that they even that they noticed that I could not get into the home. So then I came back on Saturday afternoon. I called the police. They met me there. And I have the police officer's cards that actually were there while I was packing my things for 30 minutes. I guess this is why she was having her party, which I didn't know she was having a party. And they even wrote on the back of the card that they kept the peace during eviction while I packed some of my belongings. And these are the officers that were there the first night when they...
I'm reading.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
Okay, it's true. She came to me in May and said that she was moving, that she'd be moving in about 2 or 3 months.
Right, go ahead.
Veronica asked her to get the documents that she spoke about.
What kind of documents?
For Veronica to have a daycare center, we all have to be fingerprinted and TB tested. It was 2 days after that that she told me she was actually going to be moving. So we started making arrangements for the room. My daughter was talking about moving back in. She's going back to college. She needed to come
Which
home.
daughter?
My daughter, Elizabeth.
Okay.
Also, one of Veronica's aunts was considering moving to Southern California so that she could help with the daycare.
Mm-hmm.
We had made these arrangements. It was all set. One or the other was going to be moving in.
When?
At the end of September.
Okay.
Darcy came to me and said, I won't be able to move. My boyfriend hasn't found a home, so I'm going to be staying till the end of the year.
Okay.
We had to tell her that this was impossible because we'd already made other arrangements for the room.
Okay.
At that point, she went a little crazy.
Judge Judy continues in a moment, and claims landlords Ellen, Veronica, and Jeffrey Hobson unlawfully evicted her because they wanted to run a daycare business out of their home.
Go ahead.
And she started cursing, calling names, calling Veronica names. She asked for a written 30-day notice. We gave her that.
Right, but you locked her out.
No, we
Before
did not,
the 30
Your Honor.
days, according to the police. According to the police report, couldn't get in.
This is not true, Your Honor.
Why would the police lie?
There are 2 locks.
Your Honor,
Why
I have...
didn't-
I'm sorry.
Why would the police lie in their report?
She probably did not give them the second key. There are 2 keys to the door. There's a top lock and a bottom lock. Because Darcy had a habit of going out of the home and never locking the security lock, we have to lock the bottom lock.
Right.
She did not give them the key for the bottom lock.
So you didn't lock her out?
No, we still to this date have not changed the lock.
Okay, now how many times were the police called to the premises on or about the 9th or 10th of August?
She had them there on the 9th. She had them there on the 10th, the 11th.
Why do you think she had them there?
She was trying to harass us.
No.
She was very upset about
Just a
us not
second.
allowing her to
Who
stay till
told
the end of
you?
the year.
Who told you you should leave that day or the next day?
Who told me I should leave that day
Yeah,
to
in
leave for the
August.
night?
Yeah.
The police officers.
Did there come a time when either you or Veronica went into her room that evening?
No, no.
Yes.
We talked to her earlier in the day.
When I was on the phone with the police officer, they were getting a car over there to help. They actually asked me to turn around and tell them to leave the room because she could hear them in the background screaming, and then she physically got on the phone with Veronica and told her to leave the room. And
Did you speak to the police that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. Where were you when you spoke to the police?
We were at the door of, we're in our hallway at the door of her room. That's
Okay,
where
that's
we were.
all. Sit down. Why didn't you return her security deposit?
I have it written here. I asked her to give me an address where I can mail it, and she, to this date, has not given me another address.
Okay, so you
And
acknowledge that you
also
owe her her
she-
security deposit.
She doesn't, she is not due the entire security deposit back.
Why?
Her notice was from the 9th of September through the 9th of August to the 9th of September, which means she owed another 9 days for the month of September.
She wasn't living there in September.
No, but her 30-day notice extended from
She had
August
to leave.
9th.
I find that there was sufficient harassment in the house that required her to leave.
You're on.
Shh. Do I look like I need help?
No, you don't.
You harassed her into moving. I don't know how much of this was due to the fact that you did not want to fill out forms for the county so that Veronica could have a daycare center in the house. I don't know how much of this bad feeling emanated from that, but certainly she was under no legal obligation to be fingerprinted and photographed in order to live in a room that you were renting to her. So she wasn't living there in September. She doesn't owe you any rent. Do I look like I need your help or any more evidence on that issue?
No.
Your
And
Honor,
I
I
find
have
that it was-
evidence that shows that she was not afraid, she was not being harassed. This is a note from her where she deliberately misspells our name, showing how upset she was. And if you'd like to read this.
Sure. Oh, well, it's clear to me, Ms. Hobson, that the plaintiff and your daughter-in-law, based upon this letter, have had unpleasantries pass between them. Clear to me. And she does talk in terms of harassment. And this was, in fact, written on the 9th of August. She's entitled to her full security deposit back. And she is also entitled to, if she paid you rent August 1st for the month of August, I find that she's entitled to that money back. And $500 security deposit. Where did you go when you moved out?
To a hotel for a month.
Okay.
I had to pay for storage fees, moving fees, a portable phone.
How much did you pay each night for the motel that you had to stay in?
Each night is different. The first night, I believe it was, I have it written down here. The first night I spent at a hotel was $62.70.
Yeah.
The next night I went to where I ended up staying, it was $67.99. Then I stayed at the hotel for 3 weeks, was $250 a week. I have the receipts here.
You don't have to show me the receipts.
Okay. My storage, I'm sorry.
I'm not interested in your storage.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I cannot believe that any person all of a sudden acts in a bizarre fashion for no reason unless they have a psychiatric breakdown.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Darcy Sansing claims landlords Ellen, Veronica, and Jeffrey Hobson owe her for an unlawful eviction. The Hobsons say they evicted Darcy because she threatened them.
Did you ever have any conversation with Veronica about this form that she wanted you to fill out when you didn't fill it out?
Yes, I did. She did tell me that she was going to be opening a daycare, and I told her that.
When?
It was before July 4th, maybe a couple days before, maybe in that same weekend.
When did she give you the paperwork?
She never did.
She never did?
No. She had just said that I was probably going to have to, and I told her I didn't have a problem with it at all. My sister is a foster parent, and I'm pretty sure that I'm already on their files. I've already been fingerprinted and stuff before. And that's what I had told her, so it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Now I'm going to deal with the counterclaim. Who wants to talk about this counterclaim for harassment for disturbing the birthday party?
I do.
I'll hear you.
First of all, I did go to Darcy and I did talk to her about moving out. It was not over the papers. When I approached her...
Would you please just tell me about the claim of harassment at a birthday party? That's your complaint.
My complaint is that she knew I was having a birthday party, and she came in the middle of it, brought the cops. I had to answer to my family, friends. I didn't have time to spend with my son on his birthday. I got ponies and bouncers and stuff like that. She came right smack in the middle of that, and I didn't get time to enjoy it.
What do you think she came to the police for on that occasion? What do you think she was trying to do?
Oh, she was moving out her things. She
was moving out her things.
The only thing...
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
She was moving out her things based upon statements that you made that you wanted her out.
Right.
Right. Sit down. You picked a bad time to tell her you wanted her out.
Your Honor.
Yes.
She also, on her complaint, uses the address, our address, so it shows that she was still there.
She was still there when, Ms. Hobson?
When she filed this complaint on 8/17, she is using our address.
She may not... Listen. Is what you're telling me that she was still there on the 17th of August?
She was still...
Just a second. Is what you're telling me, Ms. Hobson, that she was still living in your home on the 17th of August?
She was still using it as her address, yes. She had
Don't be a Swiftie with me, madam.
She had moved all her belongings except a TV that she did not want.
Don't be a Swiftie, madam.
She left a broken TV in the room for us to discard.
So what? You illegally and without just cause evicted her from her home where she had lived for 10 months on a month-to-month basis. The reason for that I will never understand, except that she clearly was not getting along with your daughter-in-law, because the harassment that she refers to in her letter to you involves harassment by your daughter-in-law. Now, I don't know about this baloney about moving October 1st and then moving that very day. I honestly don't know what precipitated that, but I cannot believe that any person who has had normal behavior for 10 months would opt to move their stuff out in the middle of the night into a motel room, to a $60 a night motel room, rather than stay in the comfort of a place that she's enjoyed for almost a year, unless she was being substantially harassed. I don't know why you did it, But it's clear to me that you or people acting under your authority did it, because she didn't all of a sudden overnight become a nut.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did? Oh, no, I don't believe that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm telling you, you harassed her into leaving. That's what I'm finding. You?
Well, you are wrong.
Or you? No, I don't believe so.
Your Honor,
I
may
don't
say
believe so.
something?
I don't believe that somebody, for no reason whatsoever, after 10 months of peaceful occupancy, all of a sudden acts in a bizarre fashion and puts themselves into a situation overnight where they are discommoded from that residence, put their stuff in storage, and go to a motel for no reason unless they have a psychiatric breakdown. Now, I see no evidence of that, Ms. Hobson. I am going to find that her out-of-pocket money that you have that belongs to her is $750, $500 security deposit, and $250 for unused portion of the rent. And in addition, I find that she suffered damages the extent of $1,000 to enable her to reestablish a residence based upon the fact that you illegally evicted her. Total value that I am awarding to the plaintiff on her claim is $1,750. Now, as far as your counterclaim is concerned, for $1,500 for harassment and mental anguish by ruining your son's birthday party by having the police come, that's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy Shirley Wilson is suing former friend, 27-year-old student Frances Pierce, for the cost of caring for Frances's baby for 2 years.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 108 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Wilson, according to what I've read, you knew the defendant through a niece of yours.
Yes.
The defendant had 2 children, and she found herself pregnant.
Yes.
And had very little money. So far correct?
No, ma'am.
Had a lot of responsibility.
Yes, ma'am. But it was financial responsibility.
And a decision was made between the 2 of you that you would take the baby, right?
Yes, yes.
According to you, you kept the baby for 2 years.
Yes.
Little girl?
Yes.
Raised her in your home.
Yes.
With the expectation that you were going to be keeping her.
Yes.
And then you had to register her for daycare. You notified the state that her survivor's benefits, because her father was deceased.
Yes, her father's deceased.
Should be transferred to you.
Yes.
And that when Miss Pierce found out that you had done that, she came and took the baby back.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for the 2 years that you supported this child. That's what your lawsuit is about.
Yes.
Right?
It is correct, Judge Judy.
Miss Pierce, according to you, nothing could be farther from the truth. Miss Wilson did not raise this child. The child lived with you always.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Miss Wilson, during what stage of the pregnancy did you make arrangements with Miss Pierce to take the baby?
At delivery.
At delivery?
At delivery.
Were you in the hospital when the baby was born?
Yes, I was.
Do you have any other children?
Yes, I have 6 other kids.
Are they all grown?
No.
How old are they?
Starting from 4 to 14.
Could you tell me why you chose to take on this additional responsibility?
Because I love kids, and the 6 that I have, it's not biological mine, and
they're not biologically yours.
No, not biologically.
Are they adopted children?
No, just kids are keeping until their parents can get on their feet and they come and pick them up.
Do you work?
Yes, I work for the Wake County Public Schools.
Who takes care of these children when you're working?
Daycare.
Do you get any assistance from the state for them?
No, because I don't have legal custody of them.
And how long has the 14-year-old been with you?
Oh, she was 6 weeks old.
Is that you? Step up here.
That's my daughter, Tabitha.
Tell me your first name.
Tabitha.
Tabitha. Do you see your biological parents? You do?
Every other week.
Do you go to their house?
Mm-hmm.
You stay with them for a weekend?
Yes, sometimes.
But you've been living with Miss Wilson since you're a baby.
Mm-hmm.
She take good care of you?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do in school?
Good.
Do you help take care of the younger ones?
Mm-hmm. I love them to death. I love little children.
Do you know Miss Pierce's baby?
Yes, ma'am.
What's her name?
Diamond.
Do you remember when Diamond came to live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
She had called us to come to the doctor because she was about to deliver Diamond. So I went with my mom, woke me up, we got dressed, and we went to the hospital. Francis told the doctors to hand her over to my mom when she came out, and my mom walked around and held her, and she smiled at me and my mom. And then that's when they put her in a little bed, and then we all went home. Then 2 weeks later, she called for us to come and get Diamond.
Did Diamond live in your house all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Have a seat. You got no support from this child at all during the time she was with you?
No, I didn't. Not at all.
And tell me what happened after 2 years, Miss Wilson.
I told Francie that I need to put Diamond into...
This is Francie.
This is Francis. I need to put Diamond in daycare, and I needed $90 to do so. And, well, that didn't work. So I went down to Social Security and filed for Diamond's SSI to come to where Diamond lived, which is my address. I had that done, and then I went back home. In about 2 hours, I called Frances and told her what I had done, and if she rejected, I wouldn't get it, but if she didn't, I would get it for Diamond. And she said, no, you can't, because this is what I need over here. But I said, well, Diamond don't live over there. Diamond lives here. So I'd say an hour, 2 hours, the Raleigh police come to pick her up. That was April the 28th, this year, 2000. And I haven't seen her since then, but I want to see my baby. That's my daughter. I mean, she had her, and I love this baby. I want to see the baby. I want to see her.
Miss Wilson, what do you do for the school system?
I'm a teacher's assistant.
You don't have any court papers for any of your children that are living with you?
No, no court papers, no legal documents.
No guardianship papers?
No.
Tell me why, Miss Wilson. You are not an unintelligent woman. You know that if you have children living with you, for instance, if they need to go to the doctor, and you have to sign a consent form for the doctor to take care of them, who signs that form?
I do. I signed the form.
But you don't have the legal right to sign the form unless you have these papers for your kids. Mm-hmm. Certainly, this young lady has been with you for all of her life. You are her mother in every real sense of the word. But you should have some papers for her. There are ways that you can get assistance for these children to make your life a little more comfortable.
Judge Judy, the 5 kids, well, the 6 that I have, their mom, they cooperate with me. And when we correspond together, they sign papers, they give me money for them. And that's one reason why, because I didn't want to sign the legal papers for them, because they cooperate. We would talk, and we just got along great. But when it comes down to Miss Frances, we just couldn't communicate. And I love my daughter. That's my daughter.
Well, Miss Wilson, if she did live with you for that 2-year period, and she did not live with her mother, and if you want to fight for custody of her, I believe that you have the right to do that. I can't tell you what the outcome of that case would be, Miss Wilson, but there are certain rules with regard to parenting. You cannot leave your child with someone else for 2 years and just decide to take her back. The court, however, Miss Wilson, will look into your current situation with the other children that you have in your house, and they're going to scratch their heads like I am and say, listen, either this woman should be nominated for sainthood or there's something wrong with her. I have a feeling it's the former rather than the latter, because it seems that you have a working relationship that most courts can't work out for at least 14 years with regard to having a nice relationship with your biological parents, but knowing that you have a secure, stable home with you.
Judge Judy Wilson is suing former friend, 27-year-old Frances Pierce, for the cost of caring for Frances' baby.
All right, Miss Pierce, let's hear your side of the story.
Yes, ma'am. I was introduced to Miss Wilson. I was 6.5 months pregnant. At the time, Diamond's father was going through some problems himself. He was dealing with drugs, staying in and out of prison. And at that time, I had just moved. I was going through a lot of stress. I found out I was pregnant. I didn't go get any prenatal care until I was 6.5 months pregnant, because I didn't want to realize that I was actually having another child, just getting myself back on my feet, getting in good, doing good. I said, I don't really want to have this baby. I don't want to abort.
Okay, I want to find another situation. We sat down, we talked. She come to my house. I would go visit her. We talked about maybe giving up for an adoption. I said, well, okay, right now, in the situation I'm in, I can't deal with her father. I know I'm not going to get any help. I'm just getting off of assistance, and my goal is to keep going. I don't want assistance anymore.
Okay, but you had already talked to Miss Wilson with the idea that she would adopt your baby.
Yes, ma'am. But
Okay.
she knew, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, then when Miss Wilson came up, her and that's true, her and the daughter came up and Diamond was born. She did hail Diamond, they talked or whatever. After that, I did not see Miss Wilson anymore till Diamond was like maybe 3.5 weeks old. She did not keep Diamond. Diamond went with Felicia Wilson and her mother. Social service paid them to keep them because at that time I was working at Winn-Dixie and I was cleaning buildings at night.
What happened after 3 weeks, Miss Pierce?
I went to work. I went back to work.
And
started
who
back
took
working.
Diamond after 3 weeks?
She stayed in my home, but Felicia Wilson and her mother, social service paid them to keep her while I worked.
Well, tell me under what circumstances she started to stay with Miss Wilson.
Miss Wilson came by and said her school donated a whole bunch of clothes and stuff for Diamond, brand new clothes. She said, Francis, I understand the situation you're in. She said, we'll sit down and talk about it. Right now it's probably not the right time to talk about it. She said, but I will agree to let Diamond stay in my home if you need it. I said, well, right now I don't really need her to stay overnight. I just need help with daycare until they will approve me to get it, because at that time my assistance was ran out. I wouldn't even be able to apply for any more. When Diamond got 9 months old, she said, I'm attached to her and I cannot let her go. If we want to do it another way, we can do it if you don't want to do it the legal way. And I told her I wouldn't do it the legal way because I felt guilty with myself. I can't give her up like that because she got sisters and brothers, and it will break their heart. When she leaves to go over there for the weekend or during the day, they run to her. They want to go with Shirley. Shirley has taken them with her, and she has babysitted my other 2 kids while I work, and I work down the street from her apartment, cleaning. She would come and get my kids. When I get off work, I would go back up the street to get them. I wouldn't apply for child care. They approved me child care for all of my kids under the agreement if I went back and got some trade in school. I did. Went to CET and graduated in medical billing.
Where was Diamond living from the time she was 9 months old?
Off and on between both of our houses during the weekend. She stayed with me during the week.
You don't mean during the weekend?
During the week, Diamond stayed in my home. If she wasn't there babysitting with them, she stayed because Ms. Wilson worked at school. She's a janitor at Wake County. She worked, so how could she keep her in her home when the other kids are in school?
Okay. You have things that you want to
yes,
show me?
I have. When I first put Diamond in daycare, I have the daycare papers each day coming home telling me about. I also have Diamond's birth certificate. I have Diamond from birth to 2 years old in pictures.
Let me see. Judge Judy, the papers she has is the papers when a kid come home from school, it's in the bag. They would say, we need Pampers,
Well,
we need
I
wipes.
understand exactly what it is. I
Okay.
have grandchildren.
And I have
go
the
to
same
daycare.
papers she has.
Well, let me see them.
I have an application for when I went.
No, show me the bag.
No, I don't. It's a bag. It's a book. You know, your bag.
I understand that. Show me the stuff that came out of the bag that says you picked her up from daycare.
I don't have. She ran on a van. She rode on a van. Transportation was provided for Diamond in her cubby bag. Everything wherever they say her daily. She did this today. She ate this today. We need Pampers. We need wipes.
Yeah, I know that.
Please send. No one had to sign for that. That was just a daily routine for them.
I understand that, but she has it in her possession.
Because when she would call and tell Mr. Mills, I'm coming to pick Diamond up, he would give her the whole bag with the Pampers and everything
So
in it.
she came to pick the child.
Yeah, in the evening, yes.
She came to pick the child up in the evening.
Yes, ma'am. After she would call me.
Just a second. If she was picking her up in the evening, that suggests to me that she slept at her house.
Sometimes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She went back and had Child Protective Service put on me, Social Security. They cut my daughter's benefit. I could not afford to pay her daycare. They was not only just helping her go to daycare, they was helping my other 2 kids.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shirley Wilson claims 27-year-old mother, Frances Pierce, owes her for 2 years of child care.
So she slept at her house, according to these papers, at least half the time.
No, ma'am.
You know, according to these papers, if she were picking her up in the evening.
Judge Judy, can I explain something?
Yeah.
The way that it works in Raleigh, if I'm at work, I have to sign a statement stating who's authorized to release my kids off the van, which at that time was Mr. Napoleon Mills, was my fiance.
He's not
works
your
at
fiance anymore?
No, ma'am. He, at that time, had to work himself. So she will call me and say, Francis, I'm going to come by. I will call Napoleon. Shirley's coming by. Just give her the bag. Everything is in the bag.
Okay, Miss Pierce, right now we have the following problem. We have a problem with Miss Wilson and your daughter Diamond, who were clearly attached to each other, not seeing each other since April 28th. For whatever reason, for whatever anger you may have with each other.
None. I don't have any anger towards her.
Great. You got attached, she got attached. There was a time in the beginning that you were going to let her adopt this child.
Yes, ma'am.
She, even for a short period of time, was laboring under that assumption until you felt as if you couldn't do it legally, according to you, but you would do it in spirit because she could come and take her whenever she wanted to, and she could be as an involved parent as she wished.
Mm-hmm.
So she was really doing a good thing because you were at a stress time. But right now your daughter has an attachment to her, and it's not the right thing for her not to see her. It's not the right thing.
I understand that.
Okay.
It was just the fact that I didn't like the procedures. After I told her no, she went back and had Child Protective Service put on me, Social Security. They cut my daughter's benefit. I could not afford to pay her daycare. If she didn't go, they was not only just helping her go to daycare, they was helping my other two kids. When they take one out, that means the other two come out. That means I have to stop working. I got to depend on other people. I explained that to her. I had to go to legal aid, get lawyers and things.
Okay.
I mean, I understand what she's doing. I have no problem with her seeing Diamond. Diamond loves her to death, but I just did not like the fact that she did not ask me for $90. I paid $191. So giving her $90 ain't no big thing to me. But why should I give it to her when she worked the same time I do?
You have no problem with Diamond spending some time with Miss Wilson
During the day, not overnight.
Okay?
Okay, that's fine. Great.
All right.
Love that.
Now, are you going to be able to work out informally Diamond spending, say, the weekends at Miss Wilson's house?
The weekends. Her biological grandmother has her for the weekends, on the weekends, because they don't have no bond since her father's been dead.
So you mean just recently she's been spending time with her biological grandmother?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
Judge, she don't know her biological grandmama.
That's why she's spending time with her grandmother. Okay. Because her father and his mother never got along. She's going through a thing herself. She's not going to live too long. And I feel my commitment to her is to let her at least bond with her biological. I don't have a problem with her seeing her. She knows her biological grandmother. She took her down to her biological grandmother's house to visit her.
Miss Pierce, I have a sense that you are struggling, doing well, but struggling with these three kids. Because if Diamond's biological grandmother didn't bond with her because she didn't see her for 2 years, and now Diamond is not with Miss Wilson on the weekends, so you really needed somebody else to fill in. So you're getting, so the biological grandmother is a very good vehicle to fill in. That's not right for Diamond.
No, that's not the way it was.
That's not right for Diamond. Well, that's pretty much what you said. She said she hasn't bonded with her biological grandmother, so now she's doing it.
Because of her father.
Well, how long is her father dead?
He's been dead for 2 years.
He's been dead for 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the last 2 years, she hasn't been seeing Diamond every weekend.
No, she's been seeing Diamond off and on. Ms. Wilson set it up to her.
Off and on.
Yes, ma'am.
Not every weekend.
No, ma'am.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So you make arrangements with Miss Wilson. Do it. Because I have a sense that if she believes that Diamond is being well taken care of.
I don't, Judge.
Well, if you don't, then you have to do something, Miss Wilson.
Okay.
If you don't, then I've told you what you have to do.
Okay, I'll do that.
If you think that this child is being shifted around from place to place because Miss Pierce is really overwhelmed, you have a responsibility to this child. And your responsibility is to proceed for the first time, at least, in a legal, formal way.
Okay.
You have to do that. But as far as this case is concerned, you did not have a formal arrangement with her for support for Diamond. So you're going to be unsuccessful. She doesn't have any money anyway. The problem is, if you're going to proceed in a legal fashion by going to court, there is going to be a battle. Maybe, maybe not. If you are not going to proceed in a formal legal way, but want to continue to see her when her mother says that you can, then you have to maintain a good relationship with her. Okay. You understand?
Yes.
You have any questions at all?
No, I don't.
Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Good. Good luck to you all. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue when a 38-year-old deputy officer, John Fisher, is suing his fiance's ex-boyfriend, 30-year-old truck driver Jorge Gatches, for filing false charges and defamation of character.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 261 on the calendar in the matter of Fisher versus Coaches. President sworn in, Judge. You're welcome. You may be seated.
Mr. Fisher, the defendant used to live with your current fiancée.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've been living with, her first name is Melissa,
Yes, Your Honor.
for 3 years.
Approximately 3 years, yes, Your
And how old is the child?
5 years old.
You claim that the defendant maliciously and willfully did several things. He first filed charges against you with internal affairs. You are a police officer.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition to that, he filed for a restraining order against you, causing you to have to hire counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in addition, he filed charges with Child Protective Services alleging that you had either abused and or neglected his daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
All of those charges, according to you, were dismissed.
They were, Your Honor.
And you want to be compensated for all your aggravation.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your defense, Mr. Gatches, is that you had a right to file these charges.
That is correct.
Okay. When was the incident that precipitated the filing of these charges?
Well, Your Honor, for the last 3 years, this man has harassed myself and my fiancée, Melissa. He couldn't get through the courts to get Melissa, so he elected to in turn attack me, Your Honor.
Were there custody proceedings involving the child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct. The judge ordered for us to have the same visitations and the same rights, which is half and half, 50-50. And I got proofs of that.
Let me see what you have. Did you ever sign this stipulation for custody, sir?
Yes, I did.
Because it's not signed here.
Your Honor, it hasn't.
Shh. Melissa signed it. Why haven't you signed it?
I requested these copies from the lawyer, and he still has them.
No. You have this thing here,
Okay.
Mr. Gatches. This is a letter that was sent to you. It's a stipulation regarding the custody and visitation order that was agreed to after you all went to mediation.
That's right.
And Melissa signed it. It was awaiting, signed it back in December of 1999.
Correct.
It was awaiting your signature so it could be so ordered by the judge. Why did you never sign it?
The reason why, because I remember now that there were some things that they were still not settled, like the taking our kid to counseling. That was one.
Well, what did you do to follow up on it, sir?
I haven't had money. I have been on disability, and I haven't had money to go to court, Your Honor.
I mean, you go through a whole process. A psychologist, mediator spends hours, if not days, discussing the recommendations with you. They come up with a plan that you both agreed to, and it's clearly laid out here. And then in order to resolve the whole matter, forwarded to you is the stipulation for you to sign so this matter can be resolved. Now it's a year, and you haven't done it. That's outrageous.
Okay.
Outrageous. Okay. Let's start out with the Child Protective Services, please. Did you, in fact, sir, file charges against him with Child Protective Services?
Not against Mr. Fisher, or what I called because I wanted him to investigate. I wanted to put a complaint.
So what was the complaint that you put in?
The complaint was about the incident that happened that night, which was Mr. John Fisher, yelling at my daughter, using bad language.
What did he say? Well, your daughter must have told you this, right?
No, that happened the same
there?
night when I was dropping my daughter off, when the incident happened.
Oh, well, tell me about the incident, sir, that caused you to call in a report to Child Protective Services.
It was more verbal abuse, moral
Tell me
abuse.
about it. What did you tell them? How did you tell them that he abused your daughter?
by him yelling at me in front of her, using bad language, ordering my daughter to get out of my truck, and scaring my daughter, using bad language.
Tell me what he did.
Well, what he did was that the night of the 23rd, he arrived in his truck. He parked in the driveway, and
Of whose house?
his house.
So he came to his house and he parked his truck in his driveway.
Correct. He got out
Yes.
of his truck, came over to me.
What were you doing there?
I was waiting for her mother to arrive from work.
So you were waiting
Yes.
to return her from your custody arrangement?
Correct, yes. And he approached me. He came over where I was parked at. My daughter was right there with me inside the truck. And he started using profanity. Like,
What did he say?
he said, what was wrong with me? Okay, and I go, okay. And he ordered my daughter to get out of the truck and to go inside the house. My daughter refused. He told him, he told my daughter twice to get out of the truck. My daughter was scared and she jumped into my arms. And that's what happened.
Don't talk to each other, please. Just look at me.
And he ordered my daughter twice to get out of the truck, okay? And he asked me why the heck I was telling my daughter not to go with them. So I ain't gonna leave my daughter with someone like you in this type of mood that he was in, because he did this thing,
Just a second. Look at me, not him. What happened next?
He told me to get out of the truck, talk man to man, okay? So what I did, I got out of the truck because I was afraid, I was afraid of my...
So you got out of the truck and what happened?
I got out of the truck and started, using more bad language, okay? He started telling me that he's a big American guy, that he has a big job, that how come I do not help her mother with money. And he was not making sense that night.
That makes perfect sense to me, sir. You look like a very healthy man to me. Why aren't you working? It says you don't work here. Just a second. Answer my question.
Sure.
You look very strong and very healthy. It says here, in one part of this report that I just read, that it would be very nice for your daughter to spend the time with you because you don't work. Why don't you work?
Because I'm on disability.
What kind of disability are you on?
I got bad knees and I got bad back.
You got bad knees and you got a bad back.
Correct.
You drive a truck?
I'm a delivery driver, correct, Your Honor.
You were a delivery driver. You were driving a truck the time you drove your daughter home, right?
That's right.
Yeah. When was the last time you sent child support for your daughter or supported her?
There had not been any court orders about child support, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, I'd like to add...
I'll get to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues as Deputy Officer John Fisher says his fiance's ex-boyfriend, Jorge Gatches, falsely accused him of child abuse and making threats.
Now, when did you call Child Protective Services?
The same night after I left the scene.
What did you tell them?
I told him I just wanted to get more information, and I wanted to let him know what happened that night, that my daughter was crying and she was scared. My daughter was refusing to stay alone with them, which she had done it many times before, Your Honor.
Now, when did you file a restraining order against him?
A couple days later.
Why?
Because the same night when I was dropping off my daughter, he threatened me with, because he said that he knows the law, he works with the law, and he knows the law much better.
Yes?
That he knows the law much better than me, okay? And
I think you know a little bit about the civil law, at least very well, at least about workman's compensation and disability. You know a little bit about that. You have a lawyer, right? You have a lawyer, right?
Yes, I do.
You hurt yourself. Let me see if I can put this together. I bet you hurt yourself while you were on your job, right?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
You think I'm just a good guesser? They don't keep me around here because I'm gorgeous, you know. You hurt yourself on your job. You have a lawsuit pending against your employer?
That's correct, Your Honor.
How long have you had a lawsuit pending against your former employer?
It has been around about 2.5 years.
And you go to see a doctor regularly?
Yes.
You go to a chiropractor, perhaps?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Yes, of course. Could almost write the script, right?
You're good.
Would you prefer to sit down, Mr. Gatches? Is your back bothering you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I know you're fine. So he threatened you that he knows the law better than you. I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Fisher. I think he's got the system pretty well played out.
I think so too, Your Honor.
Right. Okay, now let's get to internal affairs. Did you file a complaint against Mr. Fisher with internal affairs?
Not that I can recall that one.
Okay. Do you have any documentation that
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Gotch... Let me finish the question, Mr. Fisher.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any documentation that Mr. Gotch has filed an independent complaint with regard to the incident of the 23rd of August with the police department?
Yes, Your
Internal
Honor.
Affairs. Can I see it,
A
please?
letter from Internal Affairs.
Bottom line is that they, in effect, decided not to pursue any of these complaints because, according to this letter that was sent to you, sir, while you may find Deputy Fisher's conduct objectionable, your complaint does not describe any unlawful conduct. So clearly, you did send a letter of complaint to the Sheriff's Internal Affairs Division, right?
Yes, I did.
Well, that's what I asked you before. I don't understand why this verbal confrontation took place at the beginning, sir. Mr. Gotches, if you got to the house and Melissa wasn't home, instead of sitting outside and waiting for her, why didn't you just either go to your house, take Melissa out for soda, come back when she was there? Why did you sit there and wait for her?
That night, my daughter, it was the second time that she didn't want to stay alone with them. Plus, you know, he's sick.
Stay alone with whom?
Excuse me?
Stay alone with whom?
With Mr. Fisher. She refuses to stay alone with him.
Well, that's not true, sir.
true,
I
Your
guarantee
Honor.
you, sir, they've been living together for almost 3 years, and I guarantee you there are times when your daughter stays home with Mr. Fisher.
Many times, Your Honor.
Without Melissa. Nowhere in this psychiatric and psychological report and the mediation report does it suggest that Mr. Fisher is an inappropriate custodian. It doesn't say that.
Okay.
You live with a child who's 5 years old. Sometimes you're going to raise your voice, right?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Fisher has never used any corporal punishment with regard to your child, right?
That's not what my daughter told me one time.
Oh, well, tell me what your daughter told you
That
one
she got
time.
pushed in the bathtub by him, but he came out with a different story, so I left it to that. And also her mother called me saying that it was just an accident that it happened in the bathtub.
Well, does that sometimes happen, Mr. Gotches? An
She may
accident in the
probably
bathtub?
happen.
Shh. Does that sometimes happen, sir?
Yes.
Let me take you back to when your daughter, and you were living with her at the time, was about 1.5 years old. She started to walk. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember her falling?
Yes.
You remember her falling next to a table?
Yes.
Did she get hurt?
Yeah, many times.
Many times,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
What, do you think I was there? You think I had a camera in your living room?
No.
It happens. You think somebody should notify Child Protective Services because you weren't watching her carefully enough?
You're right.
Of course.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He claims poverty, but he runs up attorney bills to thousands of dollars. Where does he get this money? And then he gets in court and he can't even keep his lies straight, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Fisher says Jorge Gotches filed false charges against him, causing him to hire a lawyer.
Listen, you may not like him because he's not working, and you know he's full of baloney.
He's a liar. He's so bored with his life, he drives around the block, getting dizzy watching our house. He's a thorn in our side, and he's waiting for us to get married so that he can take us to court and use my income so he can sponge off the system some more for child support.
Listen to me, Mr. Fisher.
It's the way he is, Your Honor.
Mr. Fisher, you're angry.
I'm not angry, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Fisher, you're angry. And you may have a right to be angry.
Your Honor.
What?
That night did happen. Well, he did threaten me with my life. He said that he was going to send me back, deported back to my country because he knows a friend that lives up the street that lives for the INS, that he knows the system much better than I do, and that he is not afraid to take me in pieces.
Okay.
Your Honor, this
because
man
I was afraid of my life, I did try to get legal counsel, and they told me what to do, and that's what I did. That's why I followed all this process, because I felt, danger for my life and for my daughter, not just, physically, but also by my daughter's health, because this man over here is taking medication for tuberculosis, and he can also infect my daughter with it.
If you knew what you were talking about, you wouldn't be talking.
What's the medication that you're
Skylar,
taking
listen
for?
to me, Bird. I think we should have different positions here. Why don't you go over here?
Sure.
I'm not happy with the fact that the two of you share physical custody of a 5-year-old child and can't at least be civil to each other?
Your Honor, I could be totally civil with this man if he would quit running up attorney bills. He claims poverty, but he runs up attorney bills to thousands of dollars. Where does he get this money? He had enough nerve to call my house and ask Melissa for a loan to pay his attorney bills that he's ran up to $10,000 or $12,000.
Which attorney? For which attorney?
For the one over the custody issue. This man, every time you turn around, we're in court. I personally, myself, have paid around $6,000 in attorney bills because of frivolous motions and stuff like this, restraining orders, and then he gets in court and he can't even keep his lies straight, Your Honor. This man compounds lies so bad he can't even remember the first lie he told.
Okay.
If he was so scared that night, Your Honor,
he wasn't so
why
scared.
did he get, well, that's what he claims in the TRO. Why did he get out of his truck?
Why do you approach me to my truck?
You know,
That's
why
none
did
of
he,
your
if I
business.
had guns and all this other stuff he
You
says,
do.
what?
I don't want you to talk to each other.
The only reason he knows I have guns is because of the line of work I'm in. His daughter has never, ever seen a gun in my house, has never seen me carry a gun. I make it a point not to have guns around.
Listen, I strongly urge you, Mr. Gotches, there is a stipulation here. Melissa signed it. It was waiting for a judge's signature, and there is no reason in the world why you should not sign this thing and put an end to the court works amongst you. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Fisher,
Yes, Your Honor.
you think that you've acted wholly appropriately, listen to me, wholly appropriately on the evening of August 23rd?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you say anything to him about, if you want a nice car like this, why don't you get a job?
No, Your Honor, what was said was, he says, you think you're somebody because you're a cop and you drive a $40,000 truck, and I simply said to him, I'm sorry you drive a piece of... I wake up every morning and go to work, that's why I drive a new truck. That's exactly what I
You can
said.
tell that he was using profanity in front of my daughter. Why does he do that?
He may not be perfect, Mr. Gotches. You're not perfect either. We know that. About a lot of things.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So everything was dismissed. Did you have to hire an attorney?
Yes, Your Honor, this was my job.
Okay.
They took my gun from me.
They did?
Yes, Your Honor.
For how long?
For 11 days, Your Honor.
And how much did you pay the lawyer that you hired?
I paid him $1,300. On top of that, I had a $196 filing fee.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, malicious prosecution suggests that charges were filed that had absolutely no basis, in fact. Was it malicious? I don't think so. I think it was stupid. Mr. Gotches, I believe that Mr. Fisher should not have any out-of-pocket expenses with regard to your complaint against him, and I'm awarding him $1,496 for the charges that you filed against him, which caused him to have to retain counsel. That's the judgment of the court. That's all. Believe me, you'll be much better off if you try to get along. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue. Administrator Lillian Dantzler is suing former friend, 34-year-old entrepreneur Michael McCullough, for trashing her apartment.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 185 on the calendar in the matter of Dantzler versus McCullough. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated and have a seat, please.
Ms. Dantzler, you, according to your complaint, met the defendant through a dating service.
Yes.
That was sometime in the beginning of May of this year?
Yes.
And while on a sort of date, I guess, at your house, also in May,
Yes.
you claim that he, after some sort of a disturbance, destroyed your apartment.
Exactly.
So first tell me, what was he doing at your apartment?
Well, first, the reason why he was at my apartment was we had spent the day on doing personal items for himself. The defendant explained to me that he was totally blind and that he was looking for a companion, basically to help him do some of his banking, shopping. So
he wasn't interested in a date, he was interested in a caretaker.
Right, and that was one thing that he explained to me in the beginning, and I explained to him also in the beginning that I was going to be leaving Texas to return to California permanently, so I would try to assist you as much as I can.
Why would you do that? Was he going to pay you for this work?
No, I call myself being a good Samaritan.
to try to help him out. I know, knuckleheaded me, you know.
Did you sign up for this dating service?
No. No, it's something that is offered free for women, but the men has to pay for the service. You leave a voicemail with a description on yourself, and they'll call and leave you a message.
Okay. And you had to pay for this service, sir?
Yes.
How much did you have to pay? I'm just curious.
This right here, this rate here was $17 for 7 days.
Okay. And you were not looking for a date, you were looking for somebody to sort of help you out with chores and things?
No, this what I was looking for, a companion, just a CNI companion, just to do this here for youth program that I had to testify, because how I lost my eyesight 4 years ago, it's a mystery because my car pulled up at my cousin's barbecue restaurant.
No. I just, don't go back so far, please. Just tell me, were you looking for a date or were you looking for somebody to help you out with your chores?
I was looking for a companion just to help me find a studio to do some gospel mystery
Just
music
a second. So you will
ministry.
I got it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got together and you did some chores for him that day. What day was that? May what?
That was May 19th.
Okay, so you're doing some chores with him.
And the chores were, I took him to the bank, and I assisted him to walk him up to the teller, help him withdraw some money. I went to the grocery store. And all the while, I'm leading him around like he's a blind person. And since he was constantly telling me that he was, you know, never eating, I decided to fix dinner, and I fixed dinner for him.
So then you invited him back to your apartment.
Right. And during that course of the time, I was reading over the items that he wanted me to read as far as, you know, the mail that he had received. So in that process, I was beginning to see some things that maybe this person is not as blind as he said, because he actually told me what color shirt I had on. Now, I know the difference between being totally blind and being legally blind. My mother before passing was legally blind, so I know you can see figures, shapes, some shadows. But if you're totally blind, you're not going to be able to see anything.
Okay. So you're reading over his mail and he told you what color shirt you were wearing, and then what happened?
Then when he told me what color shirt I had on, I began to question him actually on how well can he see. And I asked him, I says, well, has the state declared you being legally blind, or did the state declare you being totally blind? Because I know there is a difference. Because if you're legally blind...
Okay. So you, not because. So you asked him that question.
Right.
And what did he say?
He said that he was declared totally blind.
Okay. So, next.
So, after doing dinner, he had a couple of beers, he kind of fell asleep on the couch. And at that time, I told myself, well, you know, it's about time for me to get ready to take you home. So I tapped him on the shoulder because he was ignoring me. So when I tapped him on the shoulder, he pulled me down and he began to touch me inappropriately. And during that time, you know, when he was doing so, I got angry. I walked out of my apartment. I was standing on the patio. I'm like, man, here it goes again. And when I went back in, he was in my room. So when I went in my room, I wanted to do the same thing that he did to me. So I pulled out one of my little play toys and tried to up him like he tried to things up me. So in that process, that's when the fight began. Well, he...
First of all, hold up. She got these 2 weekends combined together.
You'll have your turn. Just wait one moment, sir. Go ahead.
Well, in that process, as I walked out of the room, I had slapped him upside the head. You know, and I told him, I want you out of here. I said, even though that I picked you up, I'm going to call you a cab so you can go home, because I don't think you're as blind as you're saying that you are. And he's like, well, go ahead on, you know, call a cab. So I called the cab, and in the process of waiting for the cab, he's saying, well, you know, I ain't no punk. And he tried to pick up my couch and tried to lift it and flip it. So what I did, I pushed it down to keep him from flipping it. So then he walks over, and this is all without his blind man's cane. Now, he had only been in my apartment twice. Now, for a person that is totally blind, why wasn't he bumping into things? So in the process, he walks over to the TV and flips over the TV. So in the process of when he flips over the TV, I got on the phone with 911 because I wanted him out of here.
Judge Judy continues as former friend Michael McCullough trashed her apartment in a fit of rage. Michael says he's blind and he accidentally knocked a few things over.
What happened next?
You know, and when I called 911, all in the process, I'm watching him walk over to the picture that I had on the wall, and I have pictures of my apartment, of how my apartment was before it was destroyed and after it was destroyed.
Let me see them, please.
trashed it, totally trashed it.
Now, what happened when the police arrived?
When the police arrived, he was standing out on the balcony, hollering and screaming to the neighbors downtown about, yeah, I'm going to tell the police that you were one of the persons that, you know, shot me in my head, you know. And all the while, he was just ranting and raving. And when the police arrived...
Did the police take him into custody?
Yes, he was
arrested. You have a police report?
I sure do.
Can I see it, please?
And to me, as I was watching him destroy it, and there's no way in the world a blind man gonna see speakers that I had on a vaulted ceiling. I watched him jump and pull them down. He pulled down the patio blinds. As he went from the patio blinds, he went to my baker's rack, and I had speakers over my baker's rack. He hopped to pull it down, and when he pulled a picture off a wall, he stepped on it. He flipped my coffee table, and as he trashed the living room, he went right on over to the dining room. When he went to the dining room, he flipped over the glass top that was on the table, and on that table I had a box of crystal items that I was getting ready to pack on that table. So the crystal items that were in that box was totally shattered. And I watched this individual take a chair, Your Honor, and throw it at my mirror. The mirror that was sitting behind the the dining table. Now, if you're totally blind, how are you going to know that there is a mirror that's up on the wall behind the dining table?
What happened to the case in court?
Well, right now it's been dismissed.
Why is that?
Well, from what I understand, when I was there, I was not notified and I didn't show.
What happened to your arrest, sir?
First of all, when the police came and got me, they seen me standing out there and told me to raise my hand up, make sure I didn't have no weapons on me. So they came up there and then came and asked me for an ID. I reached in my pocket and gave my ID. And the first thing they said, we need to identify you. And the reason I got arrested, they came to me and said, where is these warrants that's out for your arrest? These warrants should have been dropped 2 years ago. And I went to jail and stayed there 5 days and went to the court for arraignment. They came to me and said, well, this is a criminal mischief. You'll be from $2,000 up to $22,000 bond. They gave me $2,000 bond. Then the arraignment judge pushed that to the side and then had to pay a dime on that bond to get out of jail.
What happened to this case, this criminal mischief case?
I went to court and sitting there, and like I said, she didn't even show up. And they just came and told me, Mr. McCullough, and said a few things. The only thing I know, he said it was dismissed, and I just stood up and just thanked my Father God for his goodness, for I had to go through all this
When was it dismissed, sir?
August 18th, last month.
Now, Miss Dantzler has told me her version of the events. Clearly, you destroyed her apartment. I mean, I have photographs, sir. You don't deny that you destroyed her apartment, is that right?
Now, hold up. Let me get this organized here. First of all...
No, before you answer my question. You don't deny that you destroyed her apartment. Is that right? You're going to give me the reason.
I did not destroy that apartment.
All right, so tell me what you didn't do.
What's he talking about? Throwing chair? How can if I'm blind and I can't see and stuff, throw a chair up against a mirror?
And that is...
And the first one, let me start how all this started while I left out that room. Because first of all, she came and got me out that car for sitting there listening to the video, walked me in the room, and first thing she said was, Michael, you want to get some of these crystal pills, talking about using some drugs, and had the ecstasy pills laying on the table, and she trying to get me to use, so I denied that. Then I heard
so she tried to get you, she asked you if you want,
ecstasy,
Mr. McCullough,
ecstasy.
She asked you if you wanted to use drugs, you said no.
Yes.
Next, what happened next?
This, I heard a no. I said, what's that? She said, this is Leroy. I said, who is Leroy? Talking about a vibrator. And then it vibrated, then I'm like, oh my goodness. And she touched me on my leg with it, on my pants leg. And I'm like, Bonnie, what's up with this?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She can't touch this, touch this. I said, what? She said, feel it, feel it. I felt something right in front of my chest. I stuck my hand down and she had a top full of marijuana. She trying to get to deceive me and tempt me to smoke this weed.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lillian Dantzler says Michael McCullough lied to her about being blind and then made sexual advances. She says when she turned him down, He trashed her apartment.
What happened next?
Then I felt her hand around my back. And then I just denied that, told her just get on and leave me alone. So then, right after that, Your Honor, she said, Michael, do you want to go on the balcony and smoke a joint? And then I said, I just let her out, and then she just left. And then, Your Honor, she can't touch this, touch this. I said, what? She said, feel it, feel it. I felt something right in front of my chest. I stuck my hand down, and she had a top full of marijuana, and my index finger went 2/3 off in this weed, and I stood up. And she trying to get to deceive me and tempt me to smoke this weed. And then she come handing me my wallet, telling me I'm finna call a taxi. And how did she get my wallet? So evidently she got my wallet out my pants by that vibrator, to get on my pants leg and sticking her hand in my pocket. And then, and she told me, Michael, I'm gonna call 911. I said, call him. And I said, give me that phone. And that's when I stepped, my left leg hit that
Your
table.
Honor.
My left leg hit that table. I extended my arm, and it hit that picture shifted. My arm went down. I felt the wire. And then when I went down, I heard the speakers, they was on, but when I hit that wire, they shut down. And then I know where I was at, and I moved to the right, and I balanced myself on the couch, and that's when I reached down and grabbed my cane and extended it. Because when I came to her house, that's when I first walked the door, that's where that couch was. So I went around there to the edge, positioned myself, and walked straight out that door. Within 5 minutes, how can I lift up couches, throw chairs and mirrors? And I was out there in 5 minutes because she was trying to get me to use drugs and to get these drug dealers to come out there and tempt me. Well, like I said, I lost my eyesight. Somebody shot me point blank in the head, and the doctors told the police and my family it was close range. The oxygen in my brain is gone. The bullet is still in my brain now. It hit my optic nerve, and they said in 4 to 6 hours, and I'll be dead. And they turned that life support machine off. And I was sitting there. The suspect never been found.
Okay,
the police kept my car for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Found no evidence I got shot in that car.
Okay.
That's what's going to help me go back and search to that street life who shot me. That's
Okay,
why I'm trying to get out of
Mr.
there.
McCullough.
God got everything under control.
Okay. You have a tape there that you want me to
Honey,
hear?
I have the 911 tape where you can hear him exactly trashing it.
Okay, let me hear it.
Yes, could you call the police over here right now? Because this guy's over here, he acting like he's lying. He's over here tearing up my stuff out of the house. Okay, could you come over here real quick? Right now. He's tearing up everything out of my apartment. Let me give me the phone. Give me the phone. Please. Please let him get him out of here. Hurry up, please. He's tearing up everything in here. Inside the police station.
And you can hear him tear.
He's tearing up everything. He's black. He's about 6'3". Please hurry up. Okay. He just trashed up everything. He's tearing up everything in my bedroom. He's tearing up everything. Why is he mad at you, man? Because I wouldn't have sex with him. He done tore up everything in my apartment. And I want him arrested.
I think that speaks for itself, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Anything else you want to say, Mr. McCullough?
Yes, on that tape, what was I saying? Give me that phone, because I made the decision to call 911 to get the police to come take me home. And if there was that much damage done at the apartment, why the police didn't tell me when they didn't read me no rights or nothing when they arrested me? They said the reason they were taking me downtown was causing them Fort Worth traffic ticket. And I would have told the police to find that marijuana print,
Mr.
and I would have told
McCullough.
them where my fingerprint was at.
Mr. McCullough, pay careful attention to me. They weren't taking you downtown because of outstanding warrants. The reason that you were arrested that evening, sir, is because you had, in fact, trashed her apartment. All these other warrants didn't become known to the police until after you got to the police station. Do you understand me?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I got, It was right there at that place. They said the 5 traffic tickets right there on the spot. As soon as they got my ID, it wasn't there at the arraignment as a judge. It was before I even went to jail. They told me what I was going down for.
Well, were they your warrants on the ticket, sir?
Yes, back in March 95 and 96.
They were. So how come you didn't pay those tickets?
Because 6 months later, after June 96, that's when somebody shot me in the head. And that's
Well,
when
but
they
you
went
still
to
owe
war.
on the tickets, sir.
I know.
So what'd you wait 6 months for to pay the tickets? You knew there were warrants outstanding for you, if I believe you.
I didn't know they were Warrens then, because I didn't know Warrens until it was in the hospital. The police told my family they went to Warren. They didn't send
All right,
me to
Mr.
my house.
Dantzler, there is no question in my mind that Mr. McCullough, despite the fact that some strange things went on in your apartment, that Mr. McCullough damaged your apartment to the extent that I've seen in the photographs. There is also no question in my mind, madam, that the original invoice that you gave to the police, which is clearly detailed, does not rise to the $5,000 that you're suing Mr. McCullough. I'm speaking that you are suing Mr. McCullough for. You gave the police a complete detail, including miscellaneous items that you have in the last section, you know, miscellaneous small things, and that comes to $2,454. I am entering a judgment in your behalf in that amount. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy manager Marcelinda Aton claims 35-year-old Brownie troop leader Maureen Davis stole the cookie money. Maureen has a separate suit against Marcelinda's husband, 40-year-old steelworker Dan Aton, for harassment.
Order. All rise. Now, this case is number 279 and 280 on the calendar in the matter of Aton versus Davis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
I have two cases here. One is really a cross-complaint. Mrs. Aton, we're going to deal with your case first.
Yes.
You and the defendant are Brownie troop leaders.
Yes.
Which is part of the Girl Scouts. And how long have you known each other?
Approximately 2 years.
How long have you both been troop leaders?
A year.
Everybody knows about Brownie cookies. Your daughter and her troop would sell cookies, and you would turn the money over to Miss Davis to put in the bank.
Her daughter was also in the trip, too.
Yes. Give her the money. She had the bank account. She'd put the money in the bank account, and then when it was all over, you would write a check to the Girl Scout Council for the cookies. And it is your claim that you gave her a substantial amount of money.
Yes.
After the sale. It was not all deposited in the account.
Right.
As a result of which the Girl Scout Council met and said they couldn't decipher where this money was, but since they delivered these dozens of boxes of cookies to both of you, you would each be responsible for half of the money.
Right.
You are suing Miss Davis for the half that you had to pay.
Yes.
Because you said, I gave her the money.
Yes.
How much money do you claim you gave her?
I gave her a total of $984.
Did you give her this money all at one time?
Yes, I did. My daughter was with me when I did that.
Over what period of time had you accumulated this $984?
3 days.
Who opened the bank account?
Maureen did.
In whose name?
Both of ours.
How many times had deposits been made in that account?
There was 1, 2, 3.
Who made the deposits?
Maureen made 2, I made 1.
So out of the 3 deposits, you made 2?
I remember making 1. If there's 2 down there, then I made 2.
Let me see what you have.
I was not able to get a hold of the bank records. They were subpoenaed.
Now, it is your claim, Miss Davis.
Here.
It is your claim, Miss Davis, that she did not give you $984.
Exactly.
How much did she give you?
She came to my house after what we called the last booth sale. They were selling outside one of the supermarkets. And what she did is she had borrowed my daughter's wagon to haul the cookies around with. She came to my house after it was done, excited that they were all gone. She handed me a pencil box full of money and asked me to deposit this money.
I asked you for a deposit slip.
Wait a second. Wait. Let her tell a story, and then I'll come back to you. Okay?
She had no idea how much money was in this box. My husband and I sat down.
So she gave you a box?
She gave me her daughter's pencil box where they had used to put the money out for the sale that they were doing. This was a 1-day sale, not a 3-day sale. Then my husband and I sat and counted it, divided all the 1s by 20s, paper clipped them all, and that's what I deposited in the bank.
And do you know how much that was?
I believe it was $236.
Now, let's get to the box. Did you bring money in a box?
Yes.
Was the money in the box separated as to bill denomination?
I had put 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s.
Are you sure?
Yes, because that was the only way to make easiest change.
How many people were involved in this sale?
Maureen was supposed to show up at
Not
the
she.
sales.
No, how many people were actually involved with you in this sale on that day?
On that day, we had one other parent.
Now explain to me exactly how this worked. You set up outside a supermarket on a table?
We didn't have a table. We just had the wagon. The people said what kind they wanted. They gave the girls the cash. The girls gave it to me. I counted what needed to go back, and I handed it to the girls, and they handed it to their customer.
When do you claim, I want you to listen to me very carefully,
okay,
was the last time you counted the money that you turned over to the defendant?
It was probably about 2 hours prior to us leaving. I wasn't sure what time we were going to leave.
Leave where?
Leave Sam Clubs. We were there from 10 o'clock to like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
And you brought all the money with you for the 3 days?
All except for $207, which was in my wet bar. And I asked her for a deposit slip, and her reply was, I can't find the bank stuff right now, so I'll get it to you when I can. And I said, all right. And then she said, with all that money laying around, I would spend it. I don't do that. That's not me.
Why didn't you make the deposit yourself?
I didn't have any of the bank stuff. It all was mailed to her house. She had all the bank access, not me.
Well, you did make one deposit yourself.
After she gave me a deposit slip.
Okay, but you can go into a bank.
They wouldn't receive the money without original deposit slip for the bank.
Oh, no. That's ridiculous. Well, Miss Aton, that's ridiculous. If you go in with your account number, listen to me, if you go into a bank with your account number.
I didn't have the account number.
We didn't have anything.
I didn't have anything.
Shh. But you could have. I mean, it wasn't a secret. You said, give me the account number, then you can do it. Then you don't even have to keep money in your wet bar, a couple $100 in your wet bar.
But mine got deposited.
Well, she deposited money. She says that you gave her $236 in cash.
I gave her more than that.
I understand that you say you gave her that. But she did, in fact, deposit $236 in cash.
It's not in here.
Did you deposit it?
Yes, I did. I deposited what I had.
You said it was $236.
I believe it was around $236.
It's not registered on there that I could see.
What date?
I'm not sure the date. It was one of the dates her husband at school one day came up to me and asked me if I had deposited the money. I told him that I had. I was actually on my way to the bank to do that.
You lied about it.
Listen, Mr. Aton, don't shout out that you don't want me to think you're a hothead, do you?
Well, I can be. Everybody can be sometimes. But I'll restrain myself.
Well, I would like to have some proof, Miss Davis, that you did in fact deposit the $236.
I haven't seen any of the deposits that had been done. I tried to
this was a deposit that you made.
Right.
You went to the bank, you deposited $236. You got a receipt. Where's the receipt?
I do not have the receipt, Your Honor.
What'd you do with it?
I gave it to Mrs. Aton.
No, you did not.
Just a second. Hey.
I handed her all the paperwork with all the receipts.
Judge Judy continued. Fellow Brownie troop leader Maureen Davis stole the proceeds from the troop's cookie sale. Maureen denies the charge and says the Atons are harassing her.
You have a problem. At least with $236, you have a problem. You have a problem with $236 because you knew you were coming to court today, not only on her complaint, but on a cross complaint that you had. You've had months to resolve this issue. And you could have easily said to the bank, I want a copy of the receipt for my $236.
I had asked for a copy of the stuff, but apparently they were subpoenaed and the bank went through their lawyers and I was told that I could not be issued those.
Oh, that's baloney. It is going to be, Ms. Aton, absolutely impossible to ascertain whether the money was taken out of your cash box.
Does that also give her the right to forge my name on the bank documents and on here?
On where?
On the bank authority for the council, too. And she even misspelled my name.
Your Honor, can I say something?
This is not an issue at hand, and if she wants to proceed
that is the reasoning that the council decided to only have me pay half.
Tell her what we saw at the bank.
That's not correct.
And at the bank, they would not give me any more of the statements and stuff because they realized that my name was forged also on the bank stuff.
You mean as an owner of the account?
Yeah.
And I can explain that, Your Honor.
Let me hear you.
I had gone into the bank and opened up our checking account for the Girl Scouts because they needed it to be open. I opened it with my own money. At that time, the signature card sat in the bank for at least 3 weeks. Mrs. Aton would not or did not go in to sign the signature card.
Why didn't you bring one out and give it? Shut up! Why didn't you pick up the signature card and give it to her and say, sign this off and I'll bring it back to the bank?
Because we very rarely saw each other in the morning.
Whether morning, afternoon, a bank card could be signed morning, afternoon, evening.
She knows where I
You
live.
can't sign somebody else's name to an account.
But she had told me to do, Your Honor, and it came from her. I didn't even know her name was Marcelinda. I've always known her as Marcy.
No.
She asked.
Go ahead.
She asked me to sign her name to that so that the bank account could get opened. I did that. Now I realize.
Where did you do that? In the bank?
In the bank.
Are you telling me you sat before a bank officer and they allowed you to sign somebody else's name?
I did.
Well, you did. And this is the same bank that wouldn't give you a copy of your deposit slip of $236 that would allow you to sit there and forge somebody's signature in a bank document?
No.
Come on, Miss Davis. Well, it doesn't sound very kosher to me. In any event, I have $236 that is unaccounted for. Can't account for the rest. I'm not prepared to find that she's a thief. Forged your name. She says it was with the bank's consent. It's very stupid.
Yes, I realized that after the fact that it probably wasn't something that should have been done.
Absolutely.
But we were friends, and I didn't think anything of it when she asked me to do this.
Yeah, you don't do that. I mean, I don't open an account by forging the name of my children. I don't care whether you're your friend or not. You just don't open an account that way.
She was aware of this, Your Honor.
I don't care whether they're aware of it, madam. You're not even dealing with your money. You have a fiduciary relationship towards this money. It is not yours. It belongs to the Girl Scout Council of America. And you don't do anything in that fiduciary capacity that is illegal. It is illegal to open an account with a forged name. You got it? I don't care, friends, not friends. This is a business. All right. Switch places.
Yep.
Your cross-complaint is for harassment.
Yes, ma'am.
You're claiming that the defendant, Mr. Aton, who has an acknowledged hot temper and who's going to uncross his arms as we speak, has harassed you in front of your child. Tell me about it.
It started the end of school year last year when this money went missing. The first episode he did was in front of my daughter and in front of a bunch of parents, and I was furious at the point that he would do this in front of everybody. I left school and I went to Mrs.
What did he do?
He sat there and yelled and called me a thief, a liar, every four-letter word you can think of.
Where was this?
At the school where we pick up our daughters.
Where at the school?
Right in front of where their classroom is where
Inside
we
the school?
Inside the school grounds.
Well, tell me exactly what he said to you.
He came up to me and he called me a thief, called me a liar, told me he was going to get me, that I stole this money, and my daughter and I proceeded to walk away, where he just proceeded to follow us and kept calling us names.
I believe he did that.
And I went to his
I
wife's
didn't have to
work.
ask him. I believe he did it. He can't contain himself here.
I went to his wife's work where I sat my daughter down in a little play area they have there and asked to speak with her. We went in the back. I told his wife what had happened, and she was appalled. She started crying. She apologized. She came out to my daughter and apologized. And she told my daughter, she would talk to him, that he wasn't being very nice. And
I believe that too. Right?
I did say that.
Just
to
a second.
keep her working
Good
with me.
Stand up here, please. Ms. Aton, let's be very honest with each other. So far,
yes,
we're getting somewhere. She did come to your place of work and say that
Yelling
there was
across my platform with a bunch of customers in it.
Absolutely not.
And she said Bill was ready to kick Dan's, excuse my language.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, honey.
You don't go inside for a minute.
I don't think you're following me, Ms. Aton. My point is, immediately after she saw your husband at the school, she came to your place of employment very upset, right?
Right.
And you did have a discussion.
Yes.
All that leads me to believe that this actually occurred at the school. All right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it goes much deeper than that, much deeper. Insults, slandering my child.
He even went up to my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, and told her that her mommy was no good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brownie troop leader Maureen Davis is suing her co-leader's husband, Dan Aton, for harassment.
What else?
Mr. Aton came up to me with his fists clenched and started proceeding to yell and scream at me in front of another parent. The parent.
What did he say?
He proceeded then to call me a liar and proceeded to tell me that I was a thief and I was no good. And I asked him, I was talking to another parent, I politely asked him to leave me alone, and he would not. The other parent then walked away. I asked him again to leave me alone. At that time, my daughter, we were right in front of my daughter's classroom where the door was open, and he would not leave. When my daughter came out, I took my daughter, I proceeded to walk away to the crosswalk. He proceeded to follow me and said, "You'll get yours," and he walked away. This happened every day when I went to school. He had something nasty to say every single day, until the fact that he even went up to my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, and told her that her mommy was no good. I went to the police department 3 times. The first day of school I went, right after this happened, because my daughter was terrified.
Okay. According to what I read here, there is some indication that you did get a restraining order against
Yes, I
him.
did.
When was that?
On October 13th.
Do you have a copy of that restraining order?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? There has not been a hearing yet on this.
It's on the 27th.
Well,
They
I
made
can't-
me get an emergency at the police
Listen to me.
department.
Do you have an attorney?
No.
Well, you will, I'm sure, get one. I am not going to take your testimony here today with regard to these allegations of harassment, sir. Do you understand? Because there is currently an action pending, and according to this, you are in the interim not to go near the plaintiff, her husband, her child, and stay 100 yards away from all of those people, their place of work, their place of residence, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that was done on an ex-parte basis, so the court had absolutely no information from your side as to whether any of these allegations were
Yes,
true.
I haven't been able to say anything about it. She's been able
Did
to...
you understand?
Yes.
You will have your chance after you speak to an attorney. You got it?
Yes.
I have to dismiss the harassment complaint. You can refile it after the action is concluded in the Superior Court, but I'm not going to put him in the position of having to testify without benefit of counsel here when he has a current action pending. I suggest you get a lawyer, Mr. Aton. You're going to need one, because if you have a hot temper, and there is no question in my mind that with what I've seen today, that there may be some validity to her complaints, that if she gets a restraining order against you and you violate it, you could go to jail.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She acknowledges that you gave her $236.
Okay.
She cannot present to me any proof from her bank, the bank that permitted her to forge your signature on a signature card, according to her, yet would not give her a copy of the receipts. So I'm perfectly comfortable on your complaint awarding you $236.
People can be provoked, Your Honor.
I didn't provoke you here,
No,
sir.
I'm not
Nothing
saying-
here provoked you.
No.
Nothing here provoked you. But I could tell that you are easily provoked. You're easily provoked because you think that this is a major deal. We're talking about money. We're not talking about
No,
your health.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. It goes much deeper than that. Much deeper. Insults, slandering my child. I'm very protective of my family. I almost lost all 3 of them. Almost lost her to cancer. Almost lost my youngest.
So if you are smart and you know that this is money, and you have your wife, and she has her health, right? Money. Not important. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Business owner Janet Mayfield is suing 44-year-old insurance company advisor Angela Dudley. Janet says Angela's 11-year-old son Jason assaulted her son, 8-year-old Deshaun.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 189 on the calendar in the matter of Mayfield versus Dudley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Why don't the
Young
mothers
men
have a seat
seats.
for a moment, and let's have the 2 boys up here, please.
Sean, right here.
Right up here. Your name, young man, is Deshaun?
Yeah. Yes.
Much better. And you are Jason?
Yes.
And you boys had some problems, is that right? First you were friends for a while, but then you had some problems?
Yes.
Then there came a day in the schoolyard after school. Do you remember that day, Jason?
Yes.
A whole bunch of kids were standing around?
Yes.
And Deshaun, you were outside also.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was teasing him.
How were you teasing him?
I was saying that he liked the girl.
What were you saying exactly? Do you remember?
I said you liked her, that's it.
Hmm?
I said you liked her, that's it.
And what did he say?
I don't know that.
Did you say anything to him when he started to tease you?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said no.
Did you like her?
No.
No. So you told him you didn't like her.
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said over and over again.
What did he say over and over again?
That I liked her.
So you were really teasing him. Why were you teasing him, Deshaun?
I didn't say it over and over again.
Why were you teasing him at all?
I was just playing with him.
Is that the only reason you were teasing him?
Yeah.
No. What happened?
After I said it a couple times, then I turned my head, and he came and slapped me, and my head hit a steel pole.
How did he slap you?
He went like this, and my face just hit a steel pole, because I was right by the pole.
So he didn't punch you or anything. He slapped you with his open hand, right?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
And your head hit a pole, and what happened after your head hit the pole?
I had a slight concussion.
How do you know that?
Because I felt dizzy after he slapped me.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember slapping him on the face?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
Because you were angry?
Yes. Yes.
You didn't punch him or anything.
Mm-mm.
You just
Yes.
slapped him on the face. Did you see his head hit the pole?
Yes.
Did you get frightened?
No.
Did you go and call for help for him?
No.
Did he walk away?
He hit me.
Hmm?
He hit me, then he walked away.
Where did he hit you?
My shoulder.
So after you hit him, he hit you in your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Did it hurt?
No.
No. Now I'll see the mothers. So now we have a relatively honest account of what happened that day. Deshaun over here acknowledges that for really no good reason he was teasing Jason. And he teased him more than once. And Jason acknowledges that he slapped him. Didn't punch him, didn't pummel him, he slapped him on the face. His head pretty much accidentally hit a pole. That wasn't the intention. And then Deshaun hit him in the shoulder. Miss Mayfield, you want Miss Dudley to pay your medical bills for your son, right?
Correct.
Now, when were you notified that your son was hurt?
Well, actually what happened around 2:15, I was approximately maybe 5 minutes late from getting him. I pulled up. I have a newborn baby that was in the car. And I sat there for about 20 minutes waiting for Deshaun to come out of school. School was over when this incident happened. And Deshaun didn't come, so I picked up my cell phone and I called into the school to find out where my son was. I was notified that he was in the nurse's office, that the nurse had come to get him and brought him into her office, and they would be coming out. Well, Deshaun and the nurse came out, and the nurse gave me a suggestion to take him to the doctor. He, had vomited, nausea, whatever. At that time, I went to take the baby back to my house, which is just around the corner, so my daughter could watch him, and I could take Deshaun to emergency to get him checked out. Well, I noticed her car on my way out, and she lives next door. So I went to talk to her. Basically, all I would have ever needed was an apology or I'm sorry. All I want is what the emergency visit was. She agreed for me to submit a bill to her. I did do that through certified mail. I got a couple of phone calls from Mrs. Dudley, and she was very rude, arrogant, no tap.
And your bill was $99. Can I see the bill?
It.
Can I see the bill, please?
Yes.
Okay.
She asked me about my insurance. I told her that I was going to get this done private pay.
Why?
where they get the bill. Here's the bill, an actual bill.
Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company?
Well, I told her that I was going to submit the bill to her because she said that she would pay it.
Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company? That's what you pay insurance for, is my question.
I didn't do that. I just took him to emergency.
No, I'm asking you a question. I mean, but that seems to me, if you have health insurance, that would have covered this $99 because it was an emergency visit. Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company?
I just took him. And I have a doctor's statement here.
All right, take a look at it. Okay, the first thing here is a lie. It said this is a 7-year-old child who was hit by an older kid with a fist. You never hit him with a fist, right? And he never hit you with a fist, is that right, Deshaun?
No.
No, he slapped you.
Your Honor, could we possibly ask the kids how hard did he hit him? I'm not quite sure, but for his head to hit a steel pole, I'd just like to know how hard.
How do you gauge that? Hard, very hard, medium soft? How do you gauge that? He certainly didn't punch him.
No, I'm not saying that he did.
He didn't punch him. There was nothing in this report that indicates that anything's wrong with him.
No, thank goodness he's okay.
Nothing. And I have a couple of questions for you. I'm not excusing him putting his hands on your son. You can't do that. What kind of punishment did you give to your son?
For teasing?
Yes.
Always, me and his dad set him down, and we told him that that is not a proper thing to do.
Absolutely right.
No, most definitely. I don't
right.
condone it at all.
Absolutely right. Put your hand down. You paying attention?
Yeah.
This whole thing wouldn't have started if you hadn't started to tease Jason, right?
Yes.
Why were you teasing him?
I was just playing with him.
No, he wasn't happy about it. You knew he wasn't happy about it, right?
No.
This is not the first incident that has ever happened with Jason or Sean having problems, okay? I stopped him from coming to the house. My husband and I, we never discussed with Sean why he could not come into the house any longer by being disruptive and doing things. We just kind of just let the kids play outside whenever they met outside. He had no idea that Jason and him were no longer friends per se. He was still...
But he knew he couldn't come into the house.
Yes, he was aware that I did not want him to come into the
house.
home.
That he knew.
Yes.
Kids are smarter than you think. If you say that Jason can't come into the house, they know that there's a reason. You can play with him outside, but he can't come into the house. Put your hands down! What do you think, you're at the beach?
No.
Judge-year-old Deshaun Jenkins says 11-year-old Jason Dudley smacked him in the head, causing a concussion. Jason says Deshaun was teasing him about a girl.
Have you had any other difficulty with Jason in school?
No. We've been neighbors for over 2.5 years, Your Honor. Okay, we never had any problems whatsoever. I didn't know that she had not allowed Jason to come over to the house because they were still playing. We live right across from the park, so they still play together out in the park. So I had no incidents or no knowledge whatsoever that she had forbidden. She never talked to me about it whatsoever. When she came to my house and asked me to pay for the emergency room bill, I told her no, I was not going to pay for it. Okay, so what I did was I followed her to the emergency room to find out, make sure she got to the emergency room. I followed her there. I sat in that emergency room while she fed her son Dorito potato chips on the same side of the mouth where she claims Jason had injured. So to me, it wasn't that severe. If she felt that he had a concussion...
He didn't have a concussion.
Right. Okay.
He didn't have a concussion. He had nothing wrong. He hit his head. He hit his head, and this whole thing was blown way out of proportion. That's what I think. The whole thing was blown way out of proportion. I totally agree. What had to happen is that these two young boys... Now you can stand up next to your mother. These two young boys should be put together in one room with their parents in a coordinated effort, and in front of Jason, Sean has to be told, you don't tease other people, it's not nice.
True.
It makes them feel badly. And sometimes they don't react to it well. Sometimes they'll let it roll off their backs. You know what that means?
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll get very frustrated. And the only way that some people know how to react in a frustrated way is to use their hands, which you can't do. So that if he was teasing you, you have to turn around and say to him, that's a stupid thing to say, and walk away. But you don't use your hands, because using your hands, you look like a strong voice, you can get in trouble. Right?
Right.
You had no out-of-pocket expenses, Miss Mayfield, because I find that you didn't do the right thing by not submitting this bill to your insurance company, which would have paid the entire bill. You wanted to prove a point.
It's just the principle.
It's not the principle of the thing. That, you know, this happens with children all the time.
It has happened before.
I don't know what's happened before. What I'm telling you is this incident is an incident that was precipitated by your son. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was just the principle for me, and I'm basically happy that the judge had to inform this child that it is not the right thing to do to put his hands on another no matter what.
Learn not to tease people.
Not to hit people in the jaw.
I think that kids will be kids, and I hope that they could play together eventually someday.
And now the next case.
All parties on Brunner versus Coley Jones. Step forward, please.
12-year-old Sherry Brunner and her mother, 48-year-old daycare provider Lori Brunner, says Sherry was discriminated against by Junior Football League commissioners Calvin Coley and John Jones.
Is your claim that your daughter, I assume this daughter, was the victim of gender discrimination by the defendants when she was cut from the football team?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this is all about.
Yes.
Tell me your first name.
Sherry.
What happened to your leg?
I had surgery.
For what?
I had a birthmark that was supposed to be cancerous.
When did you have that surgery?
August 11th.
Okay. Sherry, when for the first time did you try out for the football team?
I think it was 98.
Is this a school football team?
No.
A league?
Yes.
And were the defendants the coaches at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, did you play at all the first year?
The first year, yes.
How many other women were on the team?
No one. I was
Just
the only
you?
one.
You like football?
Yes, I do.
And you got to play?
Yes.
When were there supposed to be the tryouts for the second year?
I think August.
Now, according to what I've read, Sherry, they have something that the defendants call Hell Week.
Right.
You know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what it is.
For a whole week that you do drills, push-ups, running, all that kind of stuff. It's like what you really don't want to do.
And everybody does that?
Yes.
But you didn't?
The first week, because I was
The first week?
Right.
Tell me why you didn't go.
Because I was at New York visiting my grandma.
Did you discuss that with your coaches?
I discussed that with JJ, and he
Who's
said...
JJ?
I'm JJ.
Okay, you told JJ that you were not going to be there for Hell Week?
Right. And he said that that would be no problem.
How long did you spend with your grandmother?
For about 2 months.
So you were in New York the entire summer vacation?
Yes.
And when did you have to be back in school?
September 1st.
When was Hell Week?
The latter part of July.
You didn't return until when?
August 1st, the second week of practice.
Why didn't you come back a week early for your practice?
Well, what happens is my grandma already scheduled it for like a long time. She has frequent flyer mileage, and she schedules it for a long time. She schedules it from a long time before, so I knew when I was going to be back and everything.
Yeah, but you can change a frequent flyer ticket. You pay a little bit of a penalty.
It's difficult to change it.
No, you can't. You pay a penalty, like $50, and they let you change the date a week later, a week earlier. It's not a problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Nobody who made the team missed the entire week of Hell Week.
Nobody.
Right?
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 12-year-old Sherry Brunner says Football League commissioners Calvin Coley and John Jones discriminated against her by cutting her from the team.
So you didn't go to Hell Week, a week that everybody doesn't like, and you came back the following week.
Right.
And when you came back the following week, what happened?
I was supposed to be conditioned.
And what does that mean?
I have to have 10 hours of conditioning before I can put pads on, helmet, get my full gear.
Okay, and what happened?
Sometimes I ran for the whole practice. I did everything they asked me to.
And how many cuts were there?
I don't know.
How many
There were
cuts
5.
were there? Sherry was one of them.
Yes.
And I assume that since she was the only girl, the other 4 were boys.
Yes.
Were any of the other 4 boys that were cut boys that had been in the first year?
Yes.
How many?
One other veteran.
Now, were you told by Sherry sometime in April that she wasn't going to be able to be there for Hell Week?
She mentioned that to us, and we told her at that time that the prior year that she played in '98, we didn't have cuts because we didn't have that many kids. Our max allowance for kids is 35, and we were going over. Every year we were going higher and higher. And we explained then that that was a crucial time and she needed to be there because we had to anticipate more than 35 during that coming season.
You have your records with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Take a look. Tell me if any of the other 40 people missed the entire week of Hell Week.
We might need to ask the coach himself.
Okay,
Need to be the
take a
most
look.
important.
Tell me your name.
I'm Shani Guzman.
Tell me what you do for the team.
I was the assistant coach for running backs and quarterbacks. There's one kid here that missed 1 day, and another child that missed the first 2 days, but they made the team.
So the answer is nobody else missed the entire week. One missed 1 day, one missed 2 days, but nobody who made the team missed the entire week of Hell Week.
Nobody.
So prove to me discrimination when your coach is a woman, when nobody else made the team who had missed the entire week. Convince me that you were discriminated against.
I ran for about the whole practice, doing nothing but running, the whole field.
Yes?
Everybody was watching me.
Yes?
And that's about all I did.
She didn't get to join in most of the exercises. She did some, but that didn't happen to anybody else. None of the boys did that.
Your Honor, she had the condition. That's why she ran on that second week. She was behind the other players that had started a week ahead of her.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Well, that's what Sherry said. Sherry said that before you get into the pads and everything else, you have to do certain things, which she missed during the first week. Right?
Right.
What you want is special treatment for your daughter. Can't get that.
No.
They had every right in the world if she didn't show up according, I assume to them, I'm speaking. They had every right in the world to say you don't show up for Hell Week, you're not going to be even considered for the team.
There is no place in their rules that it says that. And it even
You knew
says,
about Hell Week, correct? Are you meant to tell me that the other 40 people who showed up did not just showed up because they wanted to? Well, maybe they had more of a desire. Just a second. Maybe they had more of a desire to play. Your daughter had a desire to spend time in New York with her grandmother. Stop making a baby out of your daughter. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will